injury is. We are in week 6, right? So Marion Hampton is missing at the very minimum, the next 4 weeks. So let's go through and let's count this out as we go ahead and update our rankings here. Obviously, you can always check out the updated rankings on flogfantasy.com. But if we are in week 6, Marion Hampton is missing at minimum 4 games, plus he is going to be missing a bye. Then he is missing week 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At the very minimum, he is missing 5 games. And then how many weeks until the fantasy playoffs, which are weeks 15, 16, 17? Then you have 11, 12, 13, 14. So at the very minimum, Marion Hampton is going to be missing more regular season games than he will play in terms of the fantasy football season. So I'm about to nuke this dude in our rankings. Do not come at me and do not say, oh, Mason, that's crazy because when he's healthy again, you're going to move him way higher. Of course, I'm going to move him way higher. When a player initially goes down and we can see they're going to miss 4 or 5 games, maybe 6 games, because we don't know. Marion Hampton may miss more than 4. So let's go ahead and let's nuke this dude because, realistically, I have Travis Etienne, I have Cam Scattaboo on my own fantasy team. I wouldn't trade Cam Scattaboo for Marion Hampton at this point. I would probably move Marion Hampton down from RB10 in our rest of season rankings. And this was already me moving him down. I had actually previously had him up here at RB7, RB8 in our rest of season rankings. Then he leaves the game with the ankle injury. Then we see him in the walking boot afterwards. And I had moved him down here to RB10 just to say oh, okay, well, we'll continue to monitor and see what happens. I think we need to move him below Trevion Henderson. Because a big thing is as well with Trevion Henderson, Antonio Gibson is now actually on the IR. So gut reaction. I think I would still rather have Marion Hampton over DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Walker, Chase Brown. Because if you're a playoff team, obviously Marion Hampton is going to be able to come through and he's going to be able to really help you in weeks 15, 16, 17. But if you're not a playoff team, if you're 2-3, especially if you're 1-4, or God help you if you're 0-5, then you better be going through and you better be doing anything you can to sell him at this point. So we'll have him at RB22. And then the other thing that we need to discuss is where are we putting Hassan Haskins? Where are we putting Kamani Vidal? Because this is a group of running backs that we were not expecting to have a role whatsoever. But this is the current Chargers running back room, including their practice squad. Hassan Haskins, Kamani Vidal, and Amar Johnson. I'm going to be honest with you, I've never heard of this dude in my entire life. I've only heard of Haskins and Vidal. Haskins, coming out of college, was a first and second down running back that really wasn't going to have a receiving role. And then if we were looking at Vidal, I know a lot of people were interested in him in fantasy drafts last season just because they weren't super encouraged by J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards. But Vidal did absolutely nothing as a rookie. There are a couple different options for the Chargers at this point. The first one being is they are going to use these 2 running backs in a running back by committee. I would assume they use the bigger bodied running back, Hassan Haskins, as the first and second down option, and they use Vidal as a third down play. But you can see the top response on this tweet is a GIF of Alvin Kamara. And honestly, and the second top response is also a GIF of Alvin. This is Alvin the Chipmunk, but obviously you get the point. And then obviously people saying that Herbert's just going to be throwing over and over again. But regardless, I'm going to be making my waiver wire running back video tonight. That will come out tomorrow. So, of course, if you want to see an in-depth research view of Hassan Haskins and Vidal, all I would say is make sure you are subscribing to the channel and dropping a like on this live stream. We are, I want to say, 6,000 subscribers away from hitting 300K, which I never thought could be a possibility. But if you hit that like and you subscribe, you're going to help us get there. But let me go ahead and let's put Haskins in these ranks. Let's put Vidal in these ranks. If I had to choose between the two running backs, for me personally, before I really dive in deep with the research, I would probably opt to go with Hassan Haskins. Now, a couple different things that we have to do. I've not updated these rankings with Antonio Gibson being out for the season, but I think I would go ahead, and if you had, say, like Nick Chubb on your team, like I have Nick Chubb on my own team, right? And Hassan Haskins is on the waiver wire in my league. I would drop Nick Chubb for Hassan Haskins. So the very minimum, he has to be above 46. In terms of him versus Kenneth Gainwell, him versus Tyler Algier, I don't know if I would drop Gainwell for him just because we don't know if you're going to have Jaylen Warren healthy or not coming out of the bye week. We're going to have to kind of see a Jaylen Warren update. But regardless, I think I'd put Haskins at 41 at this point. I don't want to get overly optimistic because the big thing is as well, frankly, we don't know if it's going to be Vidal. We don't know if they're going to go ahead and trade for Alvin Kamara or a different running back. And let's move Vidal in these rankings too. So we had Vidal down here in the no man's land. And realistically, if I had Dermicado, I would drop him for Kamani Vidal at this point. So I think I'm going to put Vidal at RB 48, Hassan Haskins at RB 41. Amari and Hampton moves down to RB 22. But what would be kind of worst case scenario for Amari and Hampton is they go through and they trade for Alvin Kamara. And then all of a sudden when Hampton does come back, instead of him being the true bell cow, it's all of a sudden a running back by committee. So let me upload these ranks. And then I'm actually going to slightly bump all the Chargers wide receivers as well, because I do think that there's an outside chance that they actually go out there and throw the ball more. So I think I'd rather have the big Q over Waddle and AJ Brown. I think I'm going to move Ladd McConkey up dramatically. I think I'm going to move Ladd McConkey to the very top of his tier. And I think I'm also going to be moving Keenan Allen up here ahead of like Mike Evans. So every Chargers wide receiver will at least be a top 30 option for me. And Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston will both be top 24. David says he's out for 4 weeks. So here's the thing that y'all like, it is crazy when I read comments like this, at least in my mind. When we hear like he's out for 4 weeks, you cannot say right now that he's out for 4 weeks. What you can say right now is October 6th, that he is out for a minimum of 4 weeks. I see this situation, I go, okay, they wasted no time whatsoever to go through and put this dude on the IR. This is the day after the game. So there's a very real chance, there's a very real possibility that he's out for more than 4 weeks. And like we already said, we are in week 6. So I think it's crazy for anybody to come out here and say with confidence that Amari and Hampton's going to be back. And let me see when the Chargers bye week is as well, because that's going to be relevant. Because the one thing that is important to note, actually, I can just click on this on the site. What am I doing? Trying to just search this. This is literally on vlogfantasy.com. Because the one thing that's interesting to note is when these players go to the IR, their bye week's not going to count. And this is actually bad news for Amari and Hampton. Because so now he is guaranteed to miss the Miami, the Indy, the Vikings, and the Tennessee Titans game. He is out at the very minimum these 4 games. And then he is eligible to come back in week 10, eligible to come back in week 11, but then he has a week 12 bye. So there is a 0% chance that they open up a 21-day practice window on him, like week 10. He's back at practice, and then this is a playoff team, and they wait to ask him to come back after the bye week in week 13. Like, it would be almost better if his bye week was in week 8, and then all of a sudden he misses Miami, he misses Indy, he goes through the bye, then he misses Tennessee, and he misses Pittsburgh. So realistically, he only misses 4 games, but he gets 5 weeks to recover. That's not the case here with the way that this is set up. So I think it's reckless to say, and it's reckless to assume that he's only going to be missing 4 weeks. It's definitely a possibility, but if you're going to assume that, it's tough. Now, this is also something that is relevant to bring up, and I'm going to be talking about this in the waiver wire video as well. Saquon Barkley did not practice on Monday, and this is important because I believe the Phillies play on Thursday this week. So missing a Monday practice is pretty important if you have a Thursday game. Now, the thing with Saquon is a veteran RB. It wouldn't be the weirdest thing in the world if they did this just as maintenance, just as precautionary. Now, I have Saquon Barkley on my own fantasy team, so you better believe that I am honoring this. I am praying that Saquon Barkley is going to be good to go, because if he's not, your boy may or may not be screwed. But we will obviously keep you updated on what is happening with Saquon, what is happening with Amari and Hampton. I will say real quick, I'll also keep you updated on what's happening with my own fantasy football team. Obviously, I know y'all don't care much about it, but essentially what I need to move to 5-0 and to still be the last undefeated team in the Flock League is I need Travis Etienne to outscore Travis Kelce and the Jags kicker by about 3 points. Is it likely? No. Is it possible? Yes. Right now, the projections on Underdog have Travis Kelce higher, lower 9.05 fantasy points. They have Travis Etienne higher, lower 13.55. So they have the projections as if, yeah, Etienne's going to outscore Kelce by about 3 points. But obviously, we need to fade the Jags kicker as well. Now, of course, if y'all wanted to check out any of these picks for the game tonight on Underdog, or ever want to check out picks on Underdog Fantasy, you can actually get the best new user offer that they have ever had. I've been working with them for 5 years now as the only sponsor of this channel. And that's if you play $5 with promo code FLOCK, you are going to get $100 added to your account. And on top of that, with code FLOCK, you'll get free questions that you can ask in these live streams that we're going to be streaming every single day until Christmas. And you'll get a free Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for the game tonight as well. I'll be honest with you, if you sign up after the game tonight, you'll still get a free pick for the Thursday night game. It'll just be a different player. But yeah, code FLOCK will give you a free pick. It'll give you $100 out of your account after you play your first 5, while at the same time, you'll actually get free questions for these streams that you can send in and ask. Luke says, I use promo code FLOCK and Underdog and the Flock Fantasy website, as well as the same email address. How do I claim my free question vouchers? So Underdog every morning sends me the list of email addresses that signed up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. And then that morning, I go ahead, I upload that list on flockfantasy.com, and any account that has the same email just automatically gets the, sorry, I'm sweating my butt off. Had to turn on the fan. It automatically gets the free question vouchers applied to the accounts. But yeah, so if you have any issues, you can email support@flockfantasy.com. But I've already applied all the free question vouchers for the people that signed up with code FLOCK yesterday, the day before, ever since we've been running this promo, which has been for about the past week. But that link will be in the description as well as the comment section. Now let's go ahead and let's dive into some teams and let's look at some stuff here. This first one's going to be from Friended, my friend. Really appreciate you. I'm sorry that it's taken me a little bit of time to get to your team here. I'm going to send up a prayer that we don't have Amari and Hampton on this. Says, I'm currently 2-6 in my league. I feel like my roster is good enough to turn this around, and I've been getting destroyed for the past 4 weeks. Should I make moves in trade, or should we stay the course and trust the squad? So I know a lot of people are going to wonder, how the hell are you 2-6? Super simple. You're just playing against the league median, right? So realistically, like 2-6 roster, very similar to just like you are effectively 1-3. Now, obviously, don't know if this team won or lost this week. We can go through and we can pull up what was in the starting lineup and maybe get a little bit of a sense. So if we started the Browns DST, pretty damn good call there. I'll say that my defense, the Seattle Seahawks, got me -3 fantasy points. Clearly you did much, much better. Looking at what we have at the quarterback position, Justin Herbert probably getting the bump with Amari and Hampton going to the IR, just because, again, they're going to have to skew to be much more pass happy than they were previously. looking over what we have in terms of the bench at quarterback, we don't necessarily have anything here, right? Which I do think that Herbert is in the range in which you could go through and you could just say like, oh, all right, well, we don't need to roster a backup quarterback. We're playing him every single week, especially as it looks like this league may have boosted quarterback scoring, whether that's 6-point passing touchdown format or whether that's like some kind of point per completion element, or maybe it's you're getting 1 point per 20 passing yards rather than 1 point per 25. Reason being is Justin Herbert had projected to score 26 points with these league settings this past week. We had Jordan Mason as a viable option this past week. Obviously, still somebody that you had to start when you had no Aaron Jones in Minnesota. But now Jordan Mason's going to be going into his bye week. And then afterwards, you're actually going to probably see Aaron Jones come back to this offense, where I'll be a lot less excited to play Jordan Mason. Now, looking at what we have with Zach Charbonnet, Charbonnet actually outplaying Kenneth Walker in terms of snaps, but it's honestly bad to see because you have both Kenneth Walker as well as Sharps. So the fact of the matter is you'd kind of want just one of them to go away. That way the other guy looks a lot more appealing, but they're just eating into each other. Then going over to what we have on the bench, we have RJ Harvey for the long-term upside. Wide receiver, we have JSN, Ted McMillan, two absolute studs that we can lock in every single week. Going over and looking at what we have on the bench here, you have London Romadunze already through their bye. So realistically, how our starting lineup's going to look going into the future is you're going to have Tet, Rome, and London in your flexes. You're going to have Jackson Smith and Jigba at wide receiver, so an incredible wide receiver room. And then you'll still have like Rashee Rice and CeeDee Lamb for long-term value. So I actually do think that you need to make a trade on this team because your running back room's garbage. Your running back room was fine when Aaron Jones was injured and Jordan Mason was playable. But when Aaron Jones comes back and that's no longer the case, we will only have running backs in committees. And your wide receiver room is loaded to the point that realistically, you could say that Tet McMillan is your wide receiver 5 when all these guys are healthy. Especially if you had started off like essentially 1-3 and possibly lost this week. So you are on the outside looking in of the playoff picture right now. While Rashee Rice is real close to coming back and looking like a true wide receiver 1, while CeeDee Lamb is real close to coming back and looking like a true wide receiver 1. Frankly, you don't really need these long-term options. You'll already be loaded up wide receiver, and we need to prioritize winning games right this second. So I actually would look to make a trade on this team. I actually would look to see if we could go through and trade CeeDee Lamb and Kenneth Walker to go get to a true elite bell cow running back like Jahmyr Gibbs, like Bijan Robinson would be perfect since he's already through his bye week. Obviously, you can go Jonathan Taylor if there was any world in which you could get to McCaffrey. You could even look at Devon Achane. So I think that the main thing that this team needs to be doing is trading for that bell cow anchor RB that we can throw in at running back. I would also be potentially looking at picking up a tight end off the waiver wire. Like if Darren Waller is still out there on waivers, I think that'd be very appealing considering the fact that Juwan Johnson is not looking super hot with the tight ends coming back like Taysom Hill in New Orleans. So yeah, I would go ahead. I would try to make that big trade for a big running back. I'm going to send you over a ton of free questions just in case you have anything else that you ever want to ask me. I'd be super happy to take a look at it, my friend. And yeah, again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And you should have a bunch of free question vouchers in your account. So if there's anything ever you want to send my way, I'd be super happy to take a look at it. Now let's move over to our next one. This is going to be Drunken Kento. It says, blew up this team after injuries. Not really concerned about the starting lineup. Am I cooked? So this is actually going to be a dynasty league. Typically we save the dynasty teams for a dedicated dynasty stream, but honestly, I'm very interested in looking at this because I think there are a lot of teams right now that just need to be pivoting with all these injuries. So we are the Jamar Burrow Reds. We are 1-3 coming into this past week. This is a Dynasty Superflex PPR tight end premium format. And yeah, I mean, my guy, you're clearly a rebuilding team. We lost Joe Burrow essentially for the season. We have Purdy injured. We have we have Purdy and CJ Stroud, QB1, QB2 in this Superflex format. Our running back this past week, you probably started Brashad Smith and Justice Hill. Actually, I guess we need to move Michael Carter in our Dynasty rankings. Obviously, we have Carter ranked in a regular redraft league. In Dynasty, I guess I didn't have him ranked with him coming off the practice squad. But honestly, with this being a rebuilding team, which you clearly are, your wide receiver 3 at the moment is like Kyle Williams. I think you just immediately have to flip Michael Carter. you immediately have to flip David Njoku. Any of these assets that we could say are probably going to be worth less this offseason than they are right now, they are very easy sells. If you could sell Michael Carter or David Njoku to a contending team just for a second round pick, or sell the combination of them, I mean, if you could get a first round pick, then obviously that'd just be an absolute no brainer. Now, the fact of the matter is, it is much, much easier said than done. But I think if you could sell either players straight up for a second, is sell them in a package for a first would be a no-brainer. But realistically speaking, you have so many effective zeros in your starting lineup that your own 2026 first has a really good shot of turning into the 101, which is kind of the hope. I mean, what would be annoying is if Jamar Chase was good enough this past week where he won us a game just by himself, because realistically, you are incentivized at this point to just absolutely lose every single game that you are in. But yeah, good luck, my friend. But definitely flip Michael Carter and flip David Njoku for long-term picks that are going to be able to help you. But let's move over to our next team here. This is going to be from Ortiz, but it actually looks like, I want to say we just hit 200 likes in this stream. So we need to go through and we need to send out some free questions in the live chat. Obviously, we are streaming every single day answering fantasy football questions. The vast majority of the questions that we answer in these streams are the free questions from people that just hang out with us. Drop a like. If y'all don't know how you qualify for free questions, is you just drop a like on the stream and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat so I know who to send those free questions out to. And of course, you can always get guaranteed free questions to these streams by taking advantage of the offer that we have on Underdog Fantasy, which is the best offer that we have seen Underdog Fantasy do in the 5 years that I've been working with them. That's after you play your first $5, you're going to get $100 added to your account. And on top of that, for tonight's game, you'll be getting a Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half a total yard. And I don't necessarily think there's anything else to say. Yeah, just use code FLOCK. You'll get both of those promos, which is the best group of promos I've ever seen Underdog do. And they've been the only sponsor of this channel for 5 years. And on top of that, you'll get free questions that you can ask in these live streams. And I'm going to be streaming every single day until Christmas, answering as many of your questions as I possibly can. But let's send this first one out to Alejandro. My friend, I really appreciate you. And thank you for hanging out with us in this live stream. And let me see if I can find you on the site. I can only find you all on my user page on the site if you use promo code FLOCK. Alejandro, there are a lot of Alejandros on the site. I just found you and just sent you over a free trade question. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us in this stream. And let's send this other one out to Newell82. Newell82 just found you and just sent you out a free trade question. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us in this live stream. Please let me know when we hit 300 likes on the stream. We'll go ahead and send out some more free questions in the chat. And then also, again, the link to join Underdog Fantasy and get those guaranteed free questions for these streams is in the description. It's in the live chat. It's the one that says $300 bonus on Underdog, and it's available in almost every single state. Now, this one's from Ortiz. Says, how do I build a better starting lineup? I have the deepest team. I traded to build this team, but caught injuries with Lamb and Worthy losing both weeks. Who should I specifically trade for? 6 out of 10 make the playoffs. So here's the thing, man. 6 out of 10 make the playoffs. It's not going to be super, super important for us to go through and optimize for the regular season. Like, I almost like the idea of just assuming that we are a playoff team and assuming that we need to focus in for long-term upside. But who should I specifically trade for? 6. This is an anniversary gift for my wife. Jesus loves you. Follow him. He cares for you. Really appreciate you, my friend, and happy anniversary. And I'm going to do my absolute best with this. I will say real quick. Okay, this is crazy on a couple ends. I was going to say you don't need any help whatsoever because you have the most valuable team in this league, but somehow we are 0-4. Here's what you realistically need to do. We just sorted this league by points against, and you have by far and away the most points scored against you. Like, realistically speaking, your team has a ton of value on it. You just need to do a hell of a lot better job playing defense. Now, this is a league, again, where 6 out of 10 teams make the playoffs. So with that context, it's not over for us. With that context, we are still in it. But even if 6 out of 10 teams make the playoffs, you still really need to go out there and really need to optimize for short-term production rather than long-term upside. Like, if, say, your playoffs start in week 15, realistically, I would say a 6-8 team makes the playoffs, but a 5-9 team probably doesn't. So here, quarterback, we have Justin Fields. Justin Fields, completely fine, QB1. I would say in a 10-team league, it's going to be weaker than average, though. Again, obviously, 10-team league, you need to scale up expectations across every position. Looking over at running back, we have Ashton Jeanty, Bucky Irving, Trevion Henderson getting the bump up with the injury to Antonio Gibson, Michael Carter, RJ Harvey, Rashad White, Trey Benson. Wide receiver, we have St. Brown, London, Rice, Tet, Marv, Worthy. In tight end, we have Trey McBride. So the issue with your team is we just went all in on long-term assets. And we really didn't balance this out with short-term production. Like, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I may have done the same exact thing if I was in a league in which 6 out of 10 people make the playoffs. But still, we drafted Ashton Jeanty, Trevion Henderson, RJ Harvey, Tet McMillan. So 4 of our key pieces being rookies. We also drafted Rashee Rice as the suspended player. And then we had injuries to Xavier Worthy and injury to Bucky Irving. So across the board, this is a team that's just much better suited for the long run than it is the short term. Now, I clearly am very high on Rashee Rice. Like, I have Rashee Rice ranked at 29 in my overall rankings. I have him ranked at wide receiver 11. But with that being said, I think I would like to go ahead and I would like to send Rashee Rice on an 0-4 team where we're not going to have him over the next 2 weeks, where we have plenty of wide receiver production anyway, and a 2-for-1 deal to see if we can get to an elite name elsewhere. Like, if you could trade Rashee Rice and Justin Fields to go out there and somehow get to Josh Allen, I think I'd be very excited about that. I mean, if you could go through it, if you could trade Rashee Rice and Bucky Irving to move to a legit RB1 that we have no question marks with their injury status or anything of the sort, like Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, would be super excited about that. I would say almost the same thing with Ashton Jeanty. Like, being able to package together Rashee Rice for that significant upgrade inside the starting lineup would be great. Going over and looking at waiver wire pivots, I'm going to operate under the assumption that Trey Benson is on our IR and we are not able to drop him to open up a roster spot. Now, if you could, then what you would want to do is you would want to go ahead and you would actually want to drop Trey Benson, pick up Rico Dowdle. But again, we're going to assume that that's not going to be a possibility. Going over and looking at receiver, no options off the waiver wire. Tight end, you're chilling with Trey McBride. So I think that the thing is, it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. You're starting St. Brown, London, and then you have so many interesting flex names. The main move that I'm going to try to make is try to send Rashee Rice as leverage for that long-term piece and a 2-for-1 deal either with Bucky Irving or with Justin Fields. It's going to come down to if that Josh Allen team is interested in making a trade. The Josh Allen team really could use Rashee Rice, honestly, and they are sitting at 3-1 coming into this, and there's a good shot they won this week with how strong Jake Ferguson and Jackson Smith-Njigba are. So if they're 4-1, there's a chance they're willing to make that pivot, because Justin Fields has been phenomenal so far this season. Like, Justin Fields, in the 3 games that he's played essentially fully, he scored 29.5, 27, 25.9 fantasy points. So he's actually outscoring Josh Allen at this point. Obviously, I wouldn't project that going into the future, though. So I think that's the leverage point that you have on this roster. I'm going to go ahead and send you over some free questions again. So if there's anything that you want to follow up with, I'd be super happy to check it out for you. I think you have a super valuable team. We just have to work on converting some of the long-term value into short-term production given our record. But really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way here. And happy anniversary again. Now let's move this over to Bryn's Bryn is able. This is actually a dynasty team, so we'll save that for a dedicated dynasty stream. Let me know in the chat. Do y'all like seeing the dynasty teams? Just say yes or no, and it will give me a sense of like, should we be saving these for the dynasty live streams, or should we just be doing them here? Okay. Now, Lando says, not sure what to do, thinking I am unlucky. Okay, so it's chess, not checkers. We are 5th in the league with value. We've scored 469 points. All right, so here's my thing, my guy. We are coming into this week, we are dead last in points scored. I don't know. I don't think you can just say you're unlucky. But let's see. We got yes, 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 no, no, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes, yes. It looks like it's kind of split 50-50 of people liking the dynasty teams versus not. So we'll probably save it. Black Man says, when I first started fantasy football, it was all dynasty. Yeah, I definitely was. I definitely was all dynasty myself from like 2014 through 2020, thinking that dynasty, like I prefer dynasty over any format. It wasn't even remotely close. I'll be honest though. I think at this point I do like redraft more than dynasty, but I like Mason from 2015 hearing, like, if I heard myself say that like 10 years ago, I wouldn't believe it. But it does look like we just hit 300 likes in the stream. So let's send out some free questions in the chat real quick before we dive into this team from Lando. Again, to qualify for free questions, all you got to do is drop a like on the live stream and drop your flogfantasy.com username in the chat. And we'll go ahead and pick a couple of y'all to send those free questions to. And also with that as well, if you wanted to get guaranteed free questions, you can always do so by taking advantage of the offer that we have on Underdog Fantasy, where if you go over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get the best promo that Underdog has ever done. And this is, after you play your first $5, you are going to get $100 added to your account. And on top of that, you're going to be getting a free Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for tonight's game. And you'll get free questions for these live streams. And I'm going to be streaming answering questions every single day until Christmas. The link's in the description as well as the live chat. And Underdog Fantasy is available in almost every single state. But let me go ahead and send out some free questions. We got this one for MF Swag Daddy. All right, let's see if we can find you, Swag Daddy. Just found you and just sent you over that free trade question. I really appreciate you hanging out with us in this stream. And let's send this next one out to InZels79. InZels. Just found you as well. Really appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream. Just sent you over a free trade question. And chat, please let me know when we hit 400 likes in the stream. We'll go ahead and we'll send out some more free questions. Now, Lando says, not sure what I'm doing. Think I'm unlucky. Since we're dead last in the league analyzer, I'd say you're not unlucky. There's some point we got to take some accountability here now. It looks like I really do need to move Kyle Pitts up our rest of season rankings based on the performance that he had last night. Okay. Now, looking at easy waiver wire pivots, the first thing that I would do, and this should be a free agent ad, you actually shouldn't have to submit a waiver wire claim, is I would drop Trevor Etienne, especially after seeing exactly how good the usage was with Rico Dowdle, and I'd pick up Byshell Tuten for tonight's game on the off chance that Byshell Tuten either expands his role or we do get an injury to Travis Etienne, which, again, I really need a big Travis Etienne game if I'm going to move to 5-0 in my fantasy league, so I really hope Etienne crushes, but Byshell Tuten's a great waiver wire pickup here. The second thing that I would say with that is I probably want to go ahead and I probably want to drop Juju Smith-Schuster in favor of DJ Moore coming out of the bye week. With DJ Moore, I know he's been very bad. He's only had like 6 targets once, and the rest of his games have been 5 targets. But realistically speaking, there is the outside chance that you end up getting the trade for DJ Moore, and all of a sudden he does go up dramatically. And like I said, I understand that we need to move we need to move David Njoku up these rankings quite dramatically. I would say that in terms of trades, oh, God dang it. I'm sorry. I clicked the wrong button here. Ole Minati, I'm going to get to that in just 1 second. I actually have to finish off with this one though. But in terms of trades, this is a start 8 format, right? So realistically in the start 8 league, we're not necessarily wanting to come through. We're not wanting to sell all wide receiver depth. Like, you can start 4 wide receivers weekly. It looks like Jordan Mason and Tony Pollard aren't really going to be startable names anymore in a 10-team format, considering the fact that you do have Aaron Jones coming back soon. Tajee Spears already been added back in. So we have 3 startable running backs with a combo of Ginty, Judkins, and Scat. Going over and looking at wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, Xavier Worthy, Ladd McConkey. So again, we can start for these wide receivers. This was 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. I would say that we probably would be wanting to sell one of the wide receivers with a running back to go get an RB upgrade. But here I actually like having the depth, especially with all the injuries we've seen across the league. One thing, if you could sell Jordan Mason, if you could sell Tony Pollard and get an upgrade elsewhere from a team that thinks that they really need help, whether they have an injury to Bucky, whether they have an injury to Amari and Hampton, I think that could be very interesting. So let's go ahead and let's look at what we have with some of these teams. This team here has Chase Brown as their RB2. If there's a world in which you could send like one of these depth running backs like Jordan Mason and get a wide receiver upgrade where you move from like Jordan Mason and Ladd McConkey or Tony Pollard and Ladd McConkey to Tet McMillan, I would really like that. Maybe Brian Thomas, depending on what happens in the game tonight. And realistically, we just need to sort this by the teams that are worst at running back, right? This team's garbage, but they don't have really, I guess they have Rome Odunze. And if you do have, say, Bucky Irving coming back in, Rachaad White turns back to 0. Like, if you could send Jordan Mason and Xavier Worthy over and get to Rome Odunze, that'd be a no-brainer. This team is fine at running back depth. This team is fine now that they hit on Dowdle. This team has Miller as their RB3, and realistically, I think maybe we need to move Miller up our rest of season ranks, considering the context that looks like an Alvin Kamara trade is now more likely than ever. So I think we definitely need to move Miller up. I think at the very minimum, he's in this tier with some of these other names we were previously putting ahead of him. But I need to move Ramadre up as well with the Antonio Gibson injury. That's a different point. But regardless, I think if you could go through and I think if you could make a play to get an upgrade like Justin Jefferson here, especially this team, I guess you could say they're fine at tight end now that they hit on Darren Waller. But like realistically, if you could send them the combination of like Drake London, Jordan Mason, Tony Pollard, Drake London to get to Justin Jefferson, I think that'd be very interesting. So there are a couple different ways that we can go about this. I think Jordan Mason, Tony Pollard are expendable running back pieces. If you could somehow find a way to trade them, I absolutely would love to. If we could somehow trade a tight end in a package with either a top end running back or a top end wide receiver, I think that'd be great as well. Because you are in an awkward spot at tight end specifically because you do have 3 players that are too good to cut, but at the same time, they're not like crushers to the point where if they were Tyler Warren, you'd know, okay, this is the guy I'm starting every single week. Like instead, I think you are kind of going to be pulling your hair out to an extent, trying to figure out which one of these players you end up putting in your starting lineup. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. Let me make sure I send you over some free questions. I may have already done this, but we'll make sure at the very minimum you got a couple questions in your account that you can send and follow up with. Now let's go back over to Ole Minotti. Says currently 4-0, but the team is offering me 2 trades for some people. Lamar, Lamb, and Waddle. They are offering a package of Taylor, McMillan, Caleb Williams, or Justin Jefferson, Caleb, and choice of Kamara, Etienne. Should I take it or stay as is? Okay, well, let's check out the team. I will say in general that this team does have some depth. And honestly, I like the idea of holding on to Lamar and Lamb here, considering the context of your roster. You are currently 4-0. This is a team in which we really should be optimizing, not necessarily for what we are. And you maybe started Dowdle this week, so there's a chance that you're 5-0. This is a team that you could very easily afford to hold on to the injured players and just bank on the long-term upside that you're going to get. So we go over and we look at quarterback. You have Lamar Jackson and you have Jackson Dart. So realistically speaking, am I super excited about having Jackson Dart here as the short-term play over Lamar? Not necessarily post Malik Neighbors trade. It was nice that Dart gave you another like 50 rushing yards this game, but still I just think that the offense is going to be overall capped significantly Going over and looking at running back, we have Bijan, Genty, great running backs we can start every week. And there are great options on waivers as well. I understand that Taysom Hill, we definitely need to move him up our rankings in a dramatic way. But realistically, with Taysom, like, I'm completely fine with you wanting to go through and you wanting to see what his role looks like before he blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, man, you got freaking Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, Michael Carter on the waiver wire. I mean, we already saw what the upside is on us hitting on guys like Rachaad White and Rico Dowdle. Why not try to do it again? So I would go through and I would drop Taysom Hill. I would drop Alec Ayomanor. And I would pick up the combination of Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, Michael Carter. If you can't get those two guys, I don't know our waiver wire priorities. Then I would honestly still drop Alec Ayomanor and Taysom Hill for Byshell Tuden and Tyler Algier, because you can start Dalton Kincaid in the short term. He has the bye week in week 7, but hopefully by that point we have George Kittle back. And then looking over at what we have at wide receiver, we have Lamb coming in the long term, and this is the top team in the league, right? So we're going to wait for the long term. We have Lamb, we have Adams, we have Waddle, we have Worthy. We're great here. Going over to tight ends, we have Kittle and Kincaid as long-term options. So, man, you have a phenomenal team. I don't want to be overthinking this. I don't want to be making many trades unless it's an absolute no-brainer. The only thing that I would probably look to do again is make the waiver wire pivots, try to find the next Rachaad White, Rico Dowdle like we already have. I would drop Alec Ayomanor. I would drop Taysom Hill. I'd pick up Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, Michael Carter. If you can't get those two guys, our next best options are Byshell Tuden and Tyler Algier. But yeah, phenomenal team. And really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. But our next one's going to be DDD Etman. It's a dynasty team. So we actually may skip by this and instead go over to Zed Mango. But before we do that, it does look like we hit 400 likes on this stream. So we need to send out some more questions. So if you haven't already, if you want to possibly win some free questions for these live streams, we're streaming every single day. All you got to do is drop a like on the stream and then also drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. That way I know who to send the questions to if you win them. And then I'll say as well, of course, that if you wanted to get guaranteed questions that you can ask in these live streams that I'm going to be streaming every single day until Christmas, you can go ahead and you can take advantage of the best offer that we've ever had on Underdog Fantasy. And I've been with Underdog for 5 years now. And that's after you play your first $5 with promo code FLOCK, you are going to get $100 added to your account. And on top of that, you're going to get a free Lamar Jackson pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for tonight's game. And then if you use code FLOCK, you'll also get free questions for these live streams, which, like I said, we're doing these every single day. But let's go ahead. Let's send out some free questions. This one's going to be going over to Waffle House 57. Waffle House 57. Just found you, my friend, and just sent you over a free trade question. Really appreciate you hanging out with us in this stream. And let's send this other one over to Official Canyon. Okay. Official Cannon, just found you. Just sent you over a free trade question. Really appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream as well. But please let me know when we hit our next like goal, ladies and gentlemen, then we'll jump into our next one. But actually, let's check out a Dynasty team here, because this may be interesting for people to see that don't play Dynasty and what you do. Like if you're 0-4, right? And then possibly this week you're 1-4, possibly you are 0-5. This is the point of the year in which you would pivot over and you would need to start thinking about what we are doing for the long term. Where even if you were planning on being a contending team coming into the season, at some point you just got to throw in the towel. And I'm going to be honest with you, Chief. I wish I had some IDP recommendations, but I literally am clueless when it comes to IDP. Like I would not be able to help you in the slightest, which I am sorry for. All praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Flock. Well, I don't know if that's blasphemous. I don't know if That is bad. I don't know if I should have said that out loud. But anyway, our team name is Smokes and Sluts. I don't know if we should have said that one out loud either. We are 0-4 coming into this, but we are an unlucky 0-4. We've actually scored the 6th most points in this league. It looks like you had just had by far and away the most points scored against you. We're 3rd in this league when it comes to value. We had the Lamar injury. We had the McCarthy injury. So realistically this week, you started Jackson Dart, Carson Wentz. Then at running back, you started Judkins, Kyron. Wide receiver, you have Chase, London, the big Q, DK Metcalf, Jacoby. So realistically, you had 2 of these guys out with their bye week this week. Quentin Johnston disappointed. Tight end were not great. We have Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews, and Taysom Hill. So really the only scenario in which a team that is absolutely in the gutter right now in the league standings in a dynasty league, right? You're 1-4, you're 0-5. That we want to continue to beat our head against the wall and we want to continue to try to win this season. Is if we can look at your roster and we can go, you know what, man, this would be an incredibly strong redraft team. If you were in a redraft league, you would still be absolutely crushing with this. Is that the case with this team? I don't think so. Realistically speaking, if this was a redraft team, would it be bad? No, not at all. Would it be incredible? No, not at all. So realistically speaking, as we look at this, I would say that your plan should be you tear this down. You plan for the long term. Unless maybe you won this week, you moved to 1-4 and you're really not wanting to, or you can't get any value for your vets. But what I would be looking to do is Kyron Williams is on the trade block. If I could sell Kyron Williams for a future first and a second, I'll do it. We can hold on to Chase, hold on to London, hold on to the big Q, but DK Metcalf's on the trade block. If I could sell DK Metcalf for a first, I would do it in a heartbeat. If not, you may have to accept a second and a third. Jacoby, if you can get a second and a third, it would be a no-brainer. Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews, Taysom Hill, if you could get a second rounder for any of these guys, it'd be a no-brainer. And in reality, you're maybe looking at getting a third instead. But yeah, I think that a team like this isn't strong enough to ignore the record. Because let's say you're 1-4 right now. And we have 9 weeks to go. Let's say you go 5-3 the rest of the way. Then we end up 6-7, or say we go 5-4 the rest of the way. We're a winning team from this point. We finished 6-8. We missed the playoffs. We have a worse rookie pick, and we weren't able to sell those veteran assets, and they just decreased in value on our team. So I would go ahead. I would look to sell off those veteran pieces. And I don't necessarily know if you can justify this team with the Lamar injury and Burrow impacting Jamar Chase. I think you got to sell him. But really appreciate you. I'm really sorry that we had the bad news for you, but I think your team's really good. You have some really strong long-term pieces. So realistically speaking, you just got to give it a little time. And next year, you'll be great. But let's move this over to Zed Mango. Says, thoughts on Pickens rest of season. I think I have George Pickens wide receiver 14 or wide receiver 15 rest of season. I think he's still going to be a top 10 wide receiver in my weekly rankings until CeeDee Lamb comes back. But once Lamb is back, then at that point, we're probably moving Pickens down to being closer to a mid wide receiver 2, but still a must start name weekly. The offense is just going to have to throw the ball a ton in Dallas, considering how bad the defense is. Now, 12-team half PPR running backs are Jacobs, Kyron, Genty, Woody. Wide receivers are St. Brown, London, Pickens, Diggs. Should we sell high on Pickens? I wouldn't. Any trade targets? My starting tight ends, Kincaid. I'm not sure I trust that rest of season. After last night's game, Kincaid looks pretty damn good. Should I target a stronger tight end? And if so, who? And give up my running back depth. Well, let's check out this team in depth here, right? So this is Zed Mango. This is an ESPN league, so you should be able to link this with the site, my guy, and it actually will give you a lot of insight if you do that. All you have to do to link with flockfantasy.com is just go to the My Teams page. I would open up flockfantasy.com on one browser that isn't Safari. Then I would open up ESPN on another browser that isn't Safari. And I would add the extension, hit sync, and then it'll pull your ESPN league into flockfantasy.com. And then from there, you should be able to see a bunch of stuff like best waiver wire options in your league, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I don't know how many teams are in this league, and that's probably going to be relevant here, right? This is a league in which you are starting one quarterback, two running backs, two receivers, a tight end, and a singular flex. So in general, you're in a spot in which the wide receiver depth's not going to matter much. So we go down and we look at some of these wide receivers that we have on we'll get to that in a second. Right now at quarterback, we have Justin Herbert. I think Herbert honestly gets the bump up with no Amari and Hampton. I think that they're going to have to go out there. They're going to have to throw the ball even more than they have been. So realistically, completely fine having Herbert QB1. Kyron and Genty, RB1 and RB2, I'm fine with as well. Obviously, Genty in a really bad spot with how bad the offense is, but it's not like you're going to be able to sell him with your league mates not knowing that. I mean, it's just very clear. Everybody can see that at this point. Then going over and looking at the bench, you have Josh Jacobs, who we are going to get to slide up to being an option for our flex. So we'll have three incredibly strong running backs. We'll have Woody Marks that we are able to have as an RB4. Realistically, that is quality depth, and we are going to be fine with that as well. So running backs extremely strong. Wide receiver St. Brown, wide receiver 1, London wide receiver 2. We'll have Pickens as our wide receiver 3, Diggs as our wide receiver 4. So because Diggs had the breakout, and honestly, I didn't even see Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt here. Because you have Diggs and Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt both breaking out on our bench, and Drake London and Josh Jacobs already through their bye weeks, I think you have an incredibly strong team. To the point where in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I am completely fine with you deciding to go through and you deciding to actually sell George Pickens in a 2-for-1 deal, either to improve at quarterback or to improve at tight ends. Because the onesies are going to be very important in a league like this, where the depth doesn't matter much at the skill positions. It's a 12-team format, so your team is just incredible. Yeah, so what I would look to do is I would look to sell either Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt or George Pickens. Obviously, we'd be asking for more if you were selling Pickens. I think people would be willing to give you more as well. But you'd be in a 2-for-1 deal to try to upgrade over Justin Herbert. I mean, if you could go Pickens and Herbert to get to Josh Allen, or if you could go from like Pickens and Kincaid to get to Trey McBride, to get to Tyler Warren, I think that would be very interesting. And then you can kind of say the same thing with Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. I would just be surprised if you could get that price on JCM. But yeah, you have an incredible, incredible team here and a 12-team format, my guy. But let me go ahead and send you over some free questions just in case there's anything else that you wanted to follow up with this team. I'd be super happy to check it out for you. But let's move over and let's answer some of the quicker questions. And let's get to some of the trades. I know we don't really have any start set questions, but we'll have trade questions that we can go ahead and look at before we get back to Johnny Glock's team. Now, I will say we hit 500 likes on the stream, so let's go ahead and let's send out some more free questions in the chat. Again, you'll see that the vast majority of questions that I answer in every single one of these live streams are the free questions that people get through the Underdog offer, or people get through just winning them in this live stream. If you want to qualify to just win those free questions, all you got to do is drop a like on the stream and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. But let's go ahead. Let's send our first free question out to somebody. This is going to be Bright Cheese. Just found you and just sent you over a free I'm going to send you over a free trade question, my friends. And let's send this other one out to Gallacher. Gallacher, I can't find you. I don't know if you use code FLOCK when you signed up to the site. If not, you can add it to your account page. I can only find all my users if you use code FLOCK. Let's see if we can find Aloyd. Aloyd, gotcha, and just sent you over a free trade question. Really appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream. And of course, if y'all wanted to get guaranteed free questions that you can ask in these streams, and I'll be streaming every single day until Christmas, you can always do so by taking advantage of the offer on Underdog Fantasy, where if you go over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get the best offer that they have ever put out there, which is you'll get $100 added to your account after you play your first 5. And you'll get a free Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half a total yard on top of that with code FLOCK. And you'll get free questions that you can ask in these live streams. And I'm live streaming every single day until Christmas to make sure that I can answer as many of your questions as humanly possible. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's dive into this first trade for Captain James, trading Barkley, who it's already been ruled, looks like he is going to be playing on Thursday. Jordan Addison, Drake London for Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, and A.J. Brown. London and Nico, lateral move. They're the same player. Barkley to Chase, slight downgrade for me with the Burrow injury. Addison to A.J. Brown, slight upgrade. So realistically speaking, I think that this is just going to come down to your need for RB. I mean, if you're absolutely golden at running back and you're worried about the Saquon Barkley injury, I mean, like, I understand you going through and you opting to trade Barkley here, but let's see I can't see what you have at running back. So honestly, I think that this is going to be a fine deal. It's a personal preference type trade either way. Am I in love with it? For sure not. But I would understand if you wanted to do it. Now, Drake May lover trading Igbuka for Bucky Irving. So I have Igbuka wide receiver 12 in my rest of season rankings. Obviously, he has been much better than that so far this season. I know a lot of people think I'm way too low on Igbuka, and I would agree with you that wide receiver 12 would be way too low if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were going to be zeros through the rest of the year. But I do think at some point you're going to have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both back in Tampa. I think a lot of this is going to come down to the injury to Bucky Irving, and if we are going to see that linger through the next few weeks and Bucky Irving to miss any more time. So for now, if I had Igbuka, I would probably just keep it safe with him over Bucky. But realistically, I'd understand if you wanted to make this pivot. Now, Darth Cone says, best combo in my team to get JSN, not the real offer. Okay, so it's a 10-team start 9 format. So I wouldn't trade Kamara right now with the possibility he goes to Los Angeles or KC. Like, I mean, if you could do this deal without sending Nico, like if you could send Nico and Kamara for JSN, you go for it. But the thing, man, is it's a 10-team start 9 format. So the depth actually matters a decent amount here, to be honest. Okay. Now, HN Train trading Scat for Brian Thomas. So this is very interesting. Obviously, it's hard to know this before the game tonight. But I have Scat on my own team, and with how much I need wide receiver production, I would probably do this deal. Your wide receiver room is a lot better than mine is, though. I have Scat at 45 overall in my rest of season ranks. I have Brian Thomas at 43 overall. Looking at your running back room after this, you'd have Achane, Javonte, Michael Carter, Bucky Irving. This is just another personal preference. Fair deal, up to you. Again, I think eventually you're going to get Tyrone Tracy back in, and I'm not thinking that Tracy is going to be the starting running back, but I think that there's an outside chance that Tracy does turn this into a running back by committee. Can y'all please spam the chat? Would you rather have Scattaboo or would you rather have Brian Thomas rest of season? And obviously, I think we'll have a much better idea after this game. But, I mean, Brian Thomas has actually had the volume consistently. The issue is just, frankly, he hasn't done anything with it. We got Scat, BTJ, Scat, BTJ, Scat, BTJ, Scat. So it looks like it's split pretty damn close to 50-50. Yeah, it's a real close split. I hate to say this. I know we've said this for 3 trades straight, but I think this is like a personal preference type deal. Up to you, your own team. I know my team, I'm loaded at running back and I really need help at wide receiver. So I would probably go ahead and do this, but realistically speaking, again, that's my specific scenario. I wouldn't say that that's going to apply to everybody. Now, Bonchad trading Pacheco and Puka Nacua for Kamara, Hampton, and Tet. You submitted this before the Amari and Hampton IR stuff. I mean, at this point, after the Amari and Hampton IR stuff, I'd way rather have Puka over Hampton. I mean, Pacheco's a 0. I think you would just rather have Puka. Fotu says, how do you get trade review questions I cannot buy on the site for some reason? Usually on the site, I have it turned to voucher only, where you can only submit questions if you have like free vouchers, either by taking advantage of the Underdog deal or by winning them in the live chat for free. On the site right now, though, they actually should be turned on where you can buy them, but most of the time, I'm assuming you just haven't tried right now. I'm assuming you're just talking about generally. Yeah, but most of the time, again, we have it where you can't buy questions on the site. You can really only submit questions if you are a paid member of the site and you get vouchers that way, or you win them in a live stream for free, or you take advantage of the Underdog deal. But usually if we add them where people could just buy them, then we would fall too far behind and I wouldn't be able to answer all of them. Now, Vizeb B 11 something like that. Trading Jacobs for Chase Brown and Nico Collins. So I actually got a trade offer similar to this today, where the fan offered me Nico and like a wide receiver swap for Josh Jacobs. I have Jacobs in a different tier, especially, man, you're playing in an 8-team league. 8-team league, Chase Brown's a 0. So just give me Josh Jacobs. Okay. Bitter Hornet. I can't see. I'm going to send you over another free trade question so you can let me know what this is about. Laz with our next one. Trading Kenneth Walker for Rashael. I would way rather have Rice over Kenneth Walker at this point, almost regardless of the scenario. Now, Chicken Tendies trading Scat, Adams, London for Matthew Golden and Puka Nacua. 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So I know it looks like you're sending a lot, which don't get me wrong, like you kind of are. But you have more than enough running back production. So yes. Again, I want to reiterate, Puka Nacua and Christian McCaffrey are 2 players that you can feel very confident in going out there and quote unquote overpaying for, and it's still going to work out for you. So I would go ahead. I would just snag Puka and I'd probably run with it. Okay, my fan's making an annoying sound. Now, Ling Lice trading JCM for Lad McConkey. Afterwards, you'd have Kyron, DeAndre Swift, and that's it. Wide receiver, you have JSN, Addison, Lamb in the long run. So I have them very close in our rankings. I would say in a 14-team format where you need help at running back, I would be scared to do this deal. But technically, I do have Lad McConkey ranked higher. But again, it is just fine if you want to make this pivot. I think this is a fair deal and it's up to you. I have Lad McConkey ranked higher, but 14-team league, it is scary to sell the running back when we don't have much depth. Now, Chris trading Hendo and Igbuka for CeeDee Lamb. It is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex where we're loaded at running back. So in the short term, obviously, you would rather have Igbuka. But what I'm going to assume, and I know people don't like me assuming this, but I'm going to assume that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are not zeros through the rest of the year. And under that assumption, I would take CeeDee Lamb here in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex where the depth's not going to matter. But I'll tell you right now, people in the chat aren't going to like this. Most people will tell you to go ahead and take the Igbuka side because obviously Igbuka looks incredible. He looks like rookie season Justin Jefferson. I think everybody understands that. Okay. Now, let's move this over to our next one. And it does look like we just hit 600 likes in the stream. So let's send out some more free questions. Again, to get those questions, all you got to do is drop a like on the live stream and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chats. You can always get free questions guaranteed by taking advantage of the offer that we have on Underdog Fantasy, where if you go over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get I was going to say a 50% deposit bonus, but it's much, much better than that. You'll get $100 out of your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, you will get a free Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for tonight's game. Underdog Fantasy is available in almost every single state. Use code FLOCK. You'll get both of those promos, and you'll get free questions for these live streams. And I'm streaming every single day until Christmas answering your questions. But let's send out this first free question to Callie Jack. Callie Jack, appreciate you always hanging out with us in this stream. I know you've been here with us for a long time. And I just found you on the site, just sent you over a free trade question. Really appreciate you again. Now, and let's move this over and send this to I'm Really 4K. I think we actually sent you one yesterday. But we'll send you one again. I'm not going to punish people for hanging out in the chat too much, right? You're going to win more than one. So just sent you over a free trade. Really appreciate you hanging out with us as always. Okay. Now, Asher Fro trading Kittle for Jalen Warren. 8-team league, man. I understand that we're loaded at tight end, but you got to get a better price for Kittle than this. What is Jalen Warren doing for you in an 8-team league? Now, bank with our next one. It says, thoughts and opinions. We got offered this. We're trading Chase Brown, Trevion Henderson, Justin Jefferson, Tyler Warren for Jacobs, Kupp, Igbuka, and Pittman. The only pieces that are relevant in this deal, realistically, you are trading Jefferson and Tyler Warren for Jacobs and Igbuka. Jefferson to Jacobs, give me Jacobs. Warren to Igbuka, give me Igbuka. And we're paying a little bit of depth premium. You have Brock Bowers. Here's the thing. If you have Bowers and Tyler Warren, I think that this is a very reasonable trade to get rid of Tyler Warren. Now, of course, I'll say that I don't love it considering the injury to Brock Bowers, where Bowers isn't viable right now. But long term, it'll be okay. Now, let's move this over to our next one. This is Portly Stir Fry trading Hubbard, Stevenson, Scat for Devon Achane. I know Stevenson gets a bump with the Antonio Gibson injury, but yes, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. You go get Achane here easily. Ty Chick, Scott Diggs, always happy to see you. Trading Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle for Kyron in London. A.J. Brown to London, massive upgrade. Derrick Henry to Kyron, massive upgrade. We're paying Waddle to get it done in a shallower format. So yes, we're going to go ahead. We'll make this deal. Now, Law Fry says, Neighbors in Hampton down 1-4. We need to make something. If Neighbors and Hampton are down, it's not necessarily like we just need help at running back. I mean, it looks like we need help at wide receiver as well. So with that context, I would rather have Igbokwe here pretty easily. Like, it's going to be tough to convince me to pivot from Igbokwe to Derrick Henry. Yeah, so I would not do this. Yeah. You lost two of your best players. Don't trade your other best player for a downgrade. Keep Igbokwe over Henry. Now, Santana says, only thing that I'm worried about is I'm 2-3, rate the team. Walker and Sutton to CeeDee Lamb. Let's see if you can afford to do it. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. You'll have JCM and Genty in at running back. Wide receiver, you'll have Igbokwe. You can't do it. It's gross, but. Who would you be playing your wide receiver to? Malik Washington? Who do you be playing in your flex if Chuba Hubbard's back? Trevion Henderson? So the value side is CeeDee Lamb, and it's not that close. But a 2-3 team where you have no depth whatsoever after losing Malik Neighbors, I don't know if you can afford it. Okay. Now, Cali Jack says, really struggling with my flex spot. And then quarterback streamer. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Chief. And we're going to play Fields over Kyler almost every week. Looking at running back, I have not seen a single matchup this week. So again, I'm not the best at looking. Not the best at looking at. I'm so sorry, Cali Jack. I'm going to send you over a free start set question so you can submit this later. I'll send you over a couple free questions. Again, I know you're always in the stream with us. I'm really sorry, but this is my fault, to be completely honest. I should not have start set questions turned on and available on the site at the moment. Just realistically speaking, I can't give you a good answer. I don't know any of the matchups. So again, Cali Jack, I really appreciate you always hanging out with us in these streams. I'm really sorry, but I'm just sent you over a couple of free question vouchers. I know we sent you one earlier in this live stream as well, so you should have a bunch in your account. I'll be happy to answer this later in the week for you. I don't know the matchups right now, so I'm not going to be able to answer it at this point. Like, I have no idea if Chuba Hubbard's playing or not, right? Okay. Now, Fire Freak, quarterback, again. Oh, dear God. Let's see. Are these easy picks? It's easy to pick Hunter Henry here. Quarterback, Caleb versus Justin Fields. Let me look at the matchups. Actually, we can do this on the site. I'm being dumb. Fields is playing at Denver. Caleb is playing at Washington. You'd probably go Fields, but it's tough. Judkins is playing at Pittsburgh. You obviously play London kind of regardless here what the matchup is. I think you go London and Judkins, but there's a chance I pivot over and tell you to play Tat once we have a better sense of the projections. Okay. Now, 50 Caliber Cat says, yikes at running back after losing Lamb and Hampton. What are your thoughts? We are trading away JSN and Rashad White for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know if you meant to say this is our team over here with St. Brown, where we'd only have Jacobs, Montgomery, and Woody Marks. I think that this is a very fair deal. If you needed short-term running back production, Bucky Irving's going to miss this week. I think you could go with the Rashad White and Amon-Ra St. Brown side. But again, as this is laid out, it shows your team being the one in which you actually have the RB production. So yeah, I think it's a fair deal. Regardless, I would go with St. Brown. If I don't need a running back, I'd go JSN and Rashad White if I need one. I think you probably only have White for another week or two. Now, G Console says, lost Hampton. We have Amon-Ra, Pickens, and Brian Thomas Jr. rest of season. Okay. Romeo Dobbs is a 0, essentially. Like, I understand you got the touchdowns this 2 weeks back, but still. Golden will get better as time goes on. Kraft's healthier coming out of the bye. They just activated Christian Watson to a 21-day practice window, and at the same time, it's not like Jaden Reed's going to be out forever. So we're trading Rome Odunze for Quinshon Judkins. Running back, we have Alvin Kamara and Woody Marks. So I'm completely fine with you doing this. I have Rome Odunze and Judkins ranked back-to-back in my rest of season ranks. Okay. Now, Celerus says, my quarterback's Caleb. Should we get rid of the CMC injury risk? Oh, this is actually an interesting deal. I would say, you said your quarterback's Caleb. Why is it saying your quarterback's Josh Allen? I would rather have Christian McCaffrey over Jahmyr Gibbs and Jaden Daniels. I know it seems close, but the reality of the situation is when you are looking at somebody like CMC, even if he's number 1 overall and Jahmyr Gibbs is number 5 overall in my rankings, they're not close. CMC's worst game this season, he scored 22.7 fantasy points in his worst game. And he's yet to have a rushing touchdown, which they will be coming soon. So I would go with the CMC side of this. Now, Bitter Hornet says they have Hampton, Kamara, Chubb, Jalen Warren. I want Rice. What do you think of the deal? I would do it in a heartbeat. So, yeah, if they lost Hampton and they're willing to make this type of move, you just picked up Rico Dowdle and Woody Marks for free off waivers. Well, obviously, we can say that like if you were to have no Chuba Hubbard rest of season, I mean, this would be close because Rico Dowdle would crush. But you are eventually going to get Hubbard back in. So, yeah, I think I would easily make this deal for Rice. Like, even if Rico Dowdle played himself into more work, it's not like he's going to be the only guy to touch the ball now. Now, Automatic from 3 says, we lost Hampton and Neighbors, about to be 4-1. I mean, your starting lineup's fine. If you're 4-1, I'll just wait for the Henderson breakout. Or wait until you get Hampton back in. There's an outside chance as well. We had some rumors coming out of Cincinnati. There's a small possibility that we end up seeing the Bengals trade for a quarterback. Which if they were to go out there and make a move for like Jameis, then all of a sudden, we are obviously significantly more excited about T. Higgins than we are right now. Which I have T. Higgins on my own fantasy team. So I'm really hoping that's the case. Now, Giga Sweat here for the flex between Waddle and Rico Dowdle. It will be Waddle if Chuba plays. It will be Dowdle if Chuba doesn't. And we're going to keep it that simple. But it looks like we just hit 700 likes on this stream. So let's go ahead. Let's send out some more free questions here. And again, all you got to do to get those or to qualify for free questions, and you can tell the vast majority of questions that we answer in these live streams every single day are free. We spend 3, 4, 5 hours a day answering free questions on these streams. Is drop a like on this live stream. Drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat so I know who to send those free questions to. Or you can get guaranteed free questions by taking advantage of the offer on Underdog Fantasy, where if you go to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get $100 added to your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, you will get a free Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half the total yard. And you will get free questions that you can send in these live streams. And we are streaming every single day until Christmas. Underdog Fantasy is available in almost every single state. They've been the only sponsor on this channel for 5 years. And you can find that link in the description and comment section. But let's send out this free question to Will Hemp. My guy, appreciate you. And can I find you on the site? Yes, I can. Just found you. Just sent you over that free trade question. Appreciate you hanging out with us in this stream. And let's send this other free question out to Smooth Widow. I cannot find you. I don't know if you use code FLOCK on the site, but I can only find you if you use code FLOCK. You can add that to your account page if you haven't used a promo code yet. Let me see if I can find Skyo Mantis. Okay. Skyo, I cannot find you either. Say the same thing. You can use code FLOCK on your account page. Let's see if we can find Bryce. Bryce just found you and just sent you over a free free trade question. Thank you again for hanging out with us in this live stream. And crap, one thing that I realized that I need to be better about mentioning is, again, I owe y'all a massive, massive thank you. This has been by far and away the best year and honestly the most fun year that I've had on YouTube. And it's been the best year business-wise that we've ever had on the site, and it isn't even remotely close. So I'm doing anything that I can to try to give back. And one thing that I did is I ordered 2,500 hats to send out to the paid members of the site. So if you're a paid member of the site, please go to the post section, fill out this Google form. I know it says we have 4,500 views on it. Last I checked, I think we only had like 1,050 responses to the form itself. It's just every time it gets clicked, it adds a view. But, so I have 2,500 hats that are getting to my house this week. The fiance is going to help me, and we are going to be boxing these up and shipping them all out to y'all. I already paid for all the hats, and I'm paying for all the shipping. I'm doing the shipping myself, so hopefully it doesn't take too long. But the fiance is already going to be upset with me that she has to help with this, and she's going to be even madder if these hats stick around in our living room for the next year. So for the love of God, go fill out this Google form if you're a paid member of the site. I'm paying for everything. I'm trying to get y'all free merch. Appreciate all the support this season. And obviously that's just on the post section of the site. Okay. Now let's move this over. This is T. Shrin. Says, just lost Hampton to the IR. We need running back help. Okay. You do need running back help and you're loaded at wide receiver. So if I'm looking at this, it's tough. Let me see. I need to move Egbuka in our overall rankings. I like having him there at wide receiver 12. Looks like we just need to move wide receivers up in general. I'm going to move Judkins down to 28 overall in our ranks. I'm going to move Egbuka up to 27 overall. As we look at this, I do think in a vacuum, I prefer Egbuka over Judkins in a full PPR format. If you just lost Hampton and you're decimated at running back, and we think long-term, you're eventually going to be getting Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, I understand the deal. I would just say you can probably get a much better running back in return, to be honest. Now, Carius trading Carter, Waddle, McBride for JSN and Darren Waller. Who do we have at running back? We have Achane, and that's it. Like, man, you can't trade Michael Carter if your only RB is Achane and you lost Trey Benson. So I would just go ahead and hold on to the Trey McBride, Jalen Waddle, and Michael Carter side. Now, Peter says, I have Chuba and Pitts already. And we're trading Kincaid for Dowdle and Strange. Who else do we have at running back? Bucky, White, Marks. I'm okay if you do this. Here's the concern, is that Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard end up turning to Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Where If and I repeat, if either running back were to miss, they're auto starts. Like if Chuba's out, Rigo Dowdle's an auto start. If Dowdle's out, Chuba Hubbard's an auto start. But the concern that you would have is this turns into a 50-50 running back by committee where you can't trust either guy. And in that instance, I think that the Carolina running back room could be disgusting. So I think it's a fair trade. It's going to be up to you. If you think Chuba misses more time, then obviously we'd rather have Dowdle because Dowdle looks like he can be an RB1 any game in which Chuba misses. Now, ETZ says, absolutely brutal injury luck, but I started 0-3, now I'm 2-3. What moves do you think I should do? This is a start set question, my friend. I would start Devonta Smith over Olave most weeks now. You better pray that, I guess you have a White or Bucky in at RB2. You have Olave for the flex. Probably have Dak in at quarterback. Realistically, if you would have asked me last week, I would have said you trade the injured guys like Lamb to get production right now. But if we won the past 2 weeks and we're 2-3 and these guys are closer to getting back, I don't think you have to make that move. Okay. Now, MF Swag Daddy trading Hampton, Golden, Bowers for Henry and Rome. Why is this still saying that Amari Hampton is RB10? I've nuked this dude. Did I not hit submit? Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I moved Amari Hampton down to RB22. Let me hit publish now. And then we're going to have to move Haskins again, but we'll figure it out. But Hampton at Henry upgrade, Bowers to Rome upgrade. We pay Matthew Golden to get it done. So yeah, I'd make this move. Bitter Hornet says they lost Hampton, and if this deal gets done, the other running backs I'll have will be like Marks and Dowdle. We have Scat. No, you have Scat and Bijan. What the hell are you talking about? Tight end, we have Mason Taylor. So yeah, like if you have Scat, Bijan, I will trade Chase Brown for George Kittle because realistically you don't need George Kittle. I'm sorry, you don't need Chase Brown. And obviously, Kittle does give you a tremendous amount of upside for the long term. Now, garbage TDs trading Puka for Taylor and Barkley. 99% of the time, I say that you never want to trade away Puka or McCaffrey. You'll never get enough in return. But there's a big but on this one. This is a nice ass price. If you're going to get Taylor and Barkley, I think you can do it. Okay, now Fizzle says, hey Mason, I'm 4-1. What should I do? If you are 4-1, I would be looking at trying to pick up some of the long-term pieces that aren't producing right now, such as George Kittle, Rashee Rice, and CeeDee Lamb, dependent on the positions that you need. Okay. Now, Aaron with the trade says 1-4. I have Achane and Bucky. Should we move Hampton? Yes. A 1-4 team, you have to sell Amari and Hampton. With that being said, I think you should be able to get more than Michael Carter and Dalton Kincaid for him. Can y'all please spam the chat? What side would you rather have? Would you rather have Amari and Hampton or Michael Carter and Dalton Kincaid? Like, there's no way this is the best price you're getting now, right? Let's see what people have to say. Go Hampton, 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 Hampton. Yeah, everybody's on the Hampton side. We got maybe 2 Carter and Kincaids. What would he have at tight end? We have Ertz right now. So obviously that is an upgrade. Yeah, I understand wanting to sell Hampton. You're 1-4. You have to sell him. I would just assume that you're going to be able to get more for this. Mappy didn't include anything in this trade question, so I'm going to send you over another free trade question voucher so you can resubmit that, my friend. A Gridiron God says 1-4. We lost Hampton. RB2 now is Sharp. Woody, this is his offer. I think it's actually a decent offer. Like Nico down tier to Quentin Johnston. I mean, the big Q's been better so far this season. I would still way rather have Nico Collins the rest of the year. But you're getting a massive upgrade at quarterback in my mind if it's a 4-point passing touchdown league. You're getting Alvin Kamara as well. If you're 1-4 and you need running back production, I think you can go for this. Now, Extra No Mayo trading Walker Chase Brown for Derrick Henry. It's a 10-team league. Our RB2 would be Michael Carter. You just don't have depth here. I would say in a vacuum, I'd rather have Derrick Henry. I don't know if we can do it here just because you don't have the depth. But like Kenneth Walker doesn't look startable. I know Derrick Henry hasn't been any better, but I mean, at least the usage is there with Henry, especially if Lamar comes back in the long term. We can say that the offense obviously is going to be much better. The thing with Kenneth Walker is Zach Charbonnet's playing more and seeing more opportunities at the moment. CB502 trading Dobbs and Fannin for Jonnu and Jennings. 14-team league, so the tight end may matter. You got McBride. If you have McBride and Jennings is coming back this week, I think you can go Jennings, but I would clearly rather have Harold Fannin over Jonnu Smith at this point. But it's going to come down to the injury status with Jennings. Last time you saw Jennings, he did only have 4 targets, but the last fully healthy game, you can make an argument he played. He had 10. So both are boom bust wide receivers. I would say the only way I would consider Jennings here if he's healthy and we get a report coming out tomorrow that he's going to be playing this week. But it looks like we had 800 likes on this stream. So let's go ahead and let's send out some more free questions in the chat. Again, to get those free questions, all you got to do to qualify will be drop a like on this live stream. Then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. And if you wanted to get free guaranteed questions, you can do so by taking advantage of the offer on Underdog Fantasy, where if you go over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get $100 added to your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, you'll get a free Trevor Lawrence pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for the game tonight. I've been on Underdog for 5 years, and this $100 offer that they've done is by far and away the best they've ever done, which is why I've been extra annoying about this in the live streams as of late, because I really do think that you should take advantage. And again, code FLOCK will also not only get you those promos, but get you free questions for these streams as well. And I'll be streaming every day until Christmas. Now, let's send this free question over to Ozzy Mondes. I believe we said that correctly. I apologize if I did not. Let me see if I can find you on our site. Ozzy Mondes. I just found you and just sent you over a free trade question. Really appreciate you hanging out with us. Now, let's send this next one to Next to First. Next to First. Just sent you a free trade question. Again, really appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream. Now, let's move over to our next one. This is CB502. Quarterback between Mac Jones and Purdy. Obviously, you're just playing whoever starts. Hopefully, it's Purdy. Running back between RB2 between Bucky, Rashad White, and Trevion Henderson. If Bucky plays, you go Bucky. If he doesn't, you go Rashad White. Wide receiver, you're going to play Rome Odunze, wide receiver 1, Marv, wide receiver 2. And then for the flex spots, I think you're going to be going with Trevion Henderson with no Antonio Gibson. Ricky Pearsall if he plays. If he does not play, I would go with Romeo Doubs probably over Matthew Golden this week. Okay. Now, let's move this over to our next question. This is from Jay Loengo, trading Scat, Pollard, Brian Thomas, Pickens, Pearsall for Kamara, Chase Brown, Terry, Tet, and Quentin Johnston. I will say 9 times out of 10, there's no reason for you to be swapping 5 players in a deal. Like, you're swapping 2 running backs for 2 other RBs and 3 wide receivers for 3 other wide receivers. Like, is this really necessary? Are you just bored? Scat to Kamara, they're the same for me. Pollard to Chase Brown, slight upgrade. Brian Thomas to Terry, downgrade. Pickens to Tet, slight upgrade. Pearsall to Quentin Johnson, slight upgrade. So this is a personal preference. I would say typically I just want to keep the side that I already have in trades like this. Okay. Now, Nick is nuts trading Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker for Genty. Considering that Zach Charbonnet is playing more than Kenneth Walker at this point, I would definitely go ahead and make this move. I would go and get Ashton Genty here. Okay. Now, Bitter Hornet trading Stafford, JCM, Dowdle, Higgins for Bijan. This is Bijan Robinson and not even remotely close. If you could somehow get this done, my guy, I would be all about it. Now, Average Joe with our next one. It says, has Laporta. He offered me multiple 4-for-4 and 3-for-3 trades. So he has Laporta, so he's trying to get rid of Ferg. Chase to Jacobs, give me Jacobs. Kyron to this side, I'd rather have Kyron and you're paying Fields. I'm like, I know it was almost every single trade we looked at last week. I wanted to have the Jamar Chase side. And while, again, I will reiterate, I understand that the Cincinnati Bengals offense is going to be much worse with no Joe Burrow than it is with Jake Browning. But I still view Jamar Chase as a top 10 wide receiver rest of season. Kyron Williams, top 10 running back rest of season. And eventually you'll get CeeDee Lamb back in, so Jake Ferguson will be a little bit less appealing here. But I would go ahead. I would take Chase and Kyron. Now, Will Hemp with our next one. It says, have the most points for, but most points against, and I'm 3-2. So we have a good team then. We're trading Jefferson for Puka. Massive upgrade. Jordan Mason for Walker's an upgrade. We're paying Tet and RGRV to get it done. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So, yeah, I would go and get Puka here. Like, Justin Jefferson's best game this season, he scored 22.6 fantasy points. Puka Nakua's worst game this season, he scored 22.8. So Puka's worst game this year is better than Justin Jefferson's best. Like, the gap here is massive. So I would rather have Puka and Walker. Now, Big Verg trading Kenneth Walker for Amari and Hampton. I'm happy to see you, my guy. Here, realistically, if you are trading Walker to get Hampton, you can only do this in a scenario in which you are 4-1, you are 5-0. I have them ranked RB24 and RB22 rest of season. Don't get me wrong. I am not a fan of Kenneth Walker at this point, given the usage that we have with Zach Charbonnet. But again, if you're anybody's trading for Amari and Hampton, you have to be in a setup in which you can truly just think about the fantasy playoffs. Now, D-Chains says Brown or Thornton if Worthy's out in a full PPR format. I know Tyquan Thornton had the big plays. I'm dumb enough where I probably would go Hollywood Brown. I don't know if that's just name brand appeal, but realistically, it's what I would do if it was my team. But I think Worthy's probably going to play, my guy. Okay. Now, let's move back over and let's get back to some of the teams that have been submitted. And come on, load for us. Please load for us. Maybe we have to sign out and sign back in. No, we're good. All right. I think this next one's, we'll skip by Johnny Clocks because it's pictures and we'll get that pulled up in a second. But let's look at this for Too Much JV. This is a 10-team start 8 format, so there should be decent options on the waiver wire. We are first in this league when it comes to value. Coming into this week, we are 1-3, but we are a very unlucky 1-3 because we had actually scored the third most points in this league. And I would assume that we are 2-3 given the Jonathan Taylor blow up and the Jake Ferguson blow up. So we definitely won this week. There's no way that we didn't, unless you're literally the unluckiest fantasy player on planet Earth. Now, the first thing that I would do is address the quarterback position simply with waiver wire pivots. It's not going to be that difficult. So I have Jerry Jeudy on my team, and I honestly would like to cut Jerry Jeudy. I'm probably not going to, though. The waivers aren't amazing in my league, and I play in a 12-teamer. With you playing in a 10-team league, I think you could cut Jerry Jeudy, realistically. I think I would rather have Calvin Ridley over Jerry Jeudy at this point. But it is up to you. I'm in at wide receiver 49, wide receiver 46. But unquestioned, what we for sure want to be doing is we for sure want to go through and we want to cut Darius Slayton and Bo Nix and pick up the combination of Caleb Williams and Dak Prescott and have Caleb and Dak to play the matchups with going into the future. And I think that will put you in a much better spot at quarterback. Now, looking at what we have with RB, we're currently sitting with the 2 best running backs in fantasy, which is why the league analyzer is saying that we are the most valuable team in this league. We have McCaffrey and we have Jonathan Taylor. You absolutely love to see it. The depth, now we have a startable name with Michael Carter. We have RJ Harvey for the long-term upside. We're 2-3, so obviously we don't need to be thinking too much about long-term upside, but you can't cut RJ Harvey. You're not going to be able to sell him for anything at this point, so you're just rolling with them. Looking at wide receiver, we have Drake London, Brian Thomas, Devonta Smith, Jacoby Myers. Wide receiver depth does somewhat matter considering the fact that it's a start 8 league. Matthew Golden, wide receiver 5. But it's not like we have a ton of wide, like we have just enough depth here at the position. Looking at tight end, we have Jake Ferg, who's, I mean, right now the tight end 1 in fantasy, and it's not even remotely close. I'm not going to rank him that way rest of season because once Lant comes in, I'm going to expect him to get a little bit worse. But realistically, I think you have a kick-ass team. I think the only thing that I would look to do is, if possible, I would go ahead. I would cut Slayton. I would cut Bo Nix. I'd pick up Caleb. I'd pick up Dak. I'd consider moving on from Jerry Jeudy for Calvin Ridley. If you can make this move before this game starts, I would cut Jerry Jeudy for Byshell Tootin as a free agent, just in case that you end up getting a Travis Etienne injury. And if Etienne stays healthy and you don't like the role for Byshell Tootin, then you can move on from Byshell Tootin, either pick back up Jerry Jeudy after the game or pick up Calvin Ridley. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way here, but really you don't need the help. You have the best team in the league. I'm going to send you over some free questions just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with this team, though. Okay. Now let's move over to our next question. It's going to be from North End. My friend, appreciate you and excited to check this out. Says, we can keep 3 players, and to be honest, I'm not sure whether I should keep Bowers like I did before or trade him for a player I can use this year to better my chances this year or someone else. Okay, so you're saying we can keep 3 players year to year. First thing is, let me make sure I can spam you with free questions just to make sure if there's anything that you want to follow up with this. I'd be super happy to help you out, my guy. Really appreciate the support. We are 7th in the league when it comes to value, but it's a 3-player keeper. Coming into this week, we had scored 510 points. We had been 2-2. I'm assuming that we won this week. Like, we started Chase, we started Wilson, we probably started Tet and Debo. So with the Chase, Wilson, and Debo blowups, if we didn't win, I think it would be a shock. I would not be looking at this as a team that we should be thinking long-term and thinking about our keeper status. Like, if I'm reading this correctly, that you keep 3 players yearly, you're always going to have 3 guys that we're excited to keep, right? I would say once we got to start thinking about long-term is, one, if you have no chance to win whatsoever, which you're either, I would guess you're 3-2. The worst case scenario, you're 2-3. But you're far from being out of it for sure. So there's no reason to think long-term here because realistically, you have a good team. Like quarterback, we have the elite QB back now with Jaden Daniels. I think we could go ahead and honestly, you could cut Matthew Stafford comfortably. Like, I realistically don't think you need Stafford here. Looking at running back, this is probably the weakest position on our team, where we have ETN, we have Cam Scat, and then we just have long-term depth pieces. But there are interesting names that you could pick up. Again, depending on your league rules. I know in my league, we can pick up the guys that haven't played yet as free agents. So if you could pick up Byshell Tuden as a free agent right now, just in case you get an injury to Travis Etienne, I think that'd make a lot of sense. It'd be stupid simple for you to just go ahead and cut Matthew Stafford, knowing that we can now play Jaden Daniels every single week, kind of regardless. So I would cut Stafford. I'd pick up Byshell Tuden before the game. Tight end, I would cut Britton Strange. I'd pick up Dallas Goedert, and we could play Dallas Goedert before we end up getting Brock Bowers back. But then obviously when Bowers comes back, then we're not going to need him at that point. And then realistically, like, you have a super strong team here. I love the roster. Cut Stafford, pick up Byshell Tuden, cut Strange, pick up Dallas Goedert. If you wanted to think, like, if you were really wanting to roster 2 quarterbacks with Jaden Daniels still wearing the knee brace, you could look to pick up Justin Herbert if, like, Byshell Tuden doesn't, like, nothing happens with ETN tonight, then you can just turn around, cut Byshell Tuden, and pick up Herbert instead. So, yeah, I would just stick to small waiver wire moves. It's a start 8 format, so, like, realistically, I like having the wide receiver depth here. I mean, if you're saying that a team's completely out of it where they're willing to just think long-term and they are willing to go out there and send you over a really strong running back for a Brock Bowers, then sure, you can do it. But realistically, are you that excited to play Dallas Goedert rest of season? Probably not. So I would just kind of leave this as is. I wouldn't be looking to make any trades. I really like your team. I just think that you make the waiver wire pivots. But I really appreciate you. Like I said, I sent you over a ton of free questions. So if there's anything else that you want to follow up with this team, I'd be happy to look at it. And again, it kind of sucks. I really am sitting here stalling, trying to come up with some trades for you. But frankly, I just don't have any because I really like your team. I just think you make the waiver wire moves. But Phil letting us know that Xavier Worthy is good to go tonight. Good for me because, again, I am hard fading Travis Kelce, and I am very much rooting for Travis Etienne. What I really need here is I really need like Etienne to score 2 touchdowns and have a big play. My concern is like I'm fading Kelce. I'm going up against Kelce. If I don't win this week, it'll be the first time I've lost this season. And it would also, I mean, it would be, I think realistically, week 7, I play the worst team in the league. Week 8, I play the second to worst team in the league. Week 6, I play kind of a mid team. So like my matchup after this, there's a very real chance that I win weeks 6, 7, 8. So if I could win this week and then I could start off 8-0, the amount of trash that I could talk, oh, it would be beautiful. So I would love to win this week, but so I'm fading Travis Kelce. But with that, since it's like a Monday night game, everybody watching it, I think they actually feature Kelce. I think Kelce has himself a day, which I'm worried about. Okay. But it does look like we hit 900 likes on the stream. So before we get to this team for Mark, please go down to the live chat and spam your flockfantasy.com username. We'll go ahead and we'll send out some free questions. Again, we live stream every single day answering fantasy football questions. The vast majority of questions that we answer are the free ones from people either winning them in the chat or taking advantage of the offer on Underdog Fantasy, where if you sign up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you will get $100 added to your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, you'll get a free Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for tonight's game. And you'll get free questions that you can ask in these live streams. And we're streaming every single day, answering questions until Christmas. Underdog Fantasy is available in almost every single state, and you can find that link in the description, and you can find it in the live chat. Now, let's send out some free questions. This first one going to be going to Tony Tiger. Just found you and just sent you over a free trade question. Really appreciate you hanging out with us in this stream. And let's send our next one over to Sad Metabolite. Sad Metabolite just found you and just sent you over a free trade question. Really appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream as well. But let's move this over to Mark's team. Says, hey, Mason, love the channel. We should have picked up the W this week, but just wanted to ask for the future since we have so much depth and don't know what to do with it. Wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you can push to 5-0. Thanks. Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate you. And if we picked up the win this week, we're 3-2. We've scored. Okay, so we're an unlucky 3-2 as well, because we have scored the most points in our league. And we have by far and away the most value on this roster. Not even remotely close either. This is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So the depth isn't really going to matter. And instead, we want to be optimizing for the top end production if we can. Now, looking at what we have with this team, it's very clear in my mind what we want to do. Because we have the 2 anchors at running back, right? I mean, we're sitting here with Jonathan Taylor and Devon Achane. Super excited about it. But beyond that, Judkins is our RB3. Swift, RB4. JCM, RB5. JCM, Michael Carter. Like, if your Michael Carter's your RB6, where you can never get him in your starting lineup, we need to sell a running back and get an upgrade elsewhere. Now, obviously, the first thing that we would want to do is we would want to go ahead and trade JCM, trade Swift, trade Michael Carter to get an upgrade elsewhere. But in reality, I think you're going to have a hard time selling them in a 10-team league. But what I think you can do in a 10-team format is let's sort this by best teams at running back, which obviously we're the best team at RB. But what I think you could get a lot of value for is actually Quinshon Judkins. Like, let's go ahead and let's look at some of these teams that need running back help and see a trade that we could possibly make. So this team is Brees RB1, RJ Harvey is their RB2 in a 10-team league. Like, if you could send them Quinshon Judkins and get a significant upgrade at wide receiver, where we go like Judkins, and my initial offer to them is, hey, I'll give you Quinshon Judkins and Mike Evans for CeeDee Lamb, for Justin Jefferson, and I'd see what they would say. Now, obviously, it's not a guarantee that they accept, but I think you could bump the offer up, Judkins and Pickens for Lamb, Judkins and Sutton for Lamb, and then obviously Jefferson includes that as well. Now, looking at this next team, they have ETN RB1, right? So they could really use some help here as well. I mean, they have Egbuka as their third wide receiver on their team. They're loaded up wide receiver. They have Josh Allen. I would offer them Judkins and Drake May for Josh Allen and see what they would say. As again, I know maybe a team that needs help at running back would think that's crazy and you would way rather have May and Judkins. Like, May's outproducing Josh Allen right now. But realistically speaking, you don't really need Judkins. Right? Like, we have Taylor Achane jammed in. You have so many exciting flex plays here anyway. So, like, sending Judkins and May for Josh Allen, sending Judkins and Evans for Jamar Chase, I think that would be very interesting. This team just lost Amari and Hampton. Like, I would offer, honestly, one thing that you could do is just try to go straight up to the top and get Puka Nacua. Offer them Achane and London for Puka. But I think you can afford to, like, quote unquote, lose a deal where we sell a running back there. Just because JCM's your RB5, Swift's your RB4, Michael Carter's your RB6. Obviously, you can try selling those running back depth pieces instead. But there are a lot of teams in your league that could use running back help. And then if we're able to sell Judkins in a deal like that or sell one of those other depth RBs, I think the best option that you'll backfill off the waiver wire with would actually end up being Ramondre Stevenson post Antonio Gibson injury. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. I'm going to go ahead and send you over some free questions just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with. Okay. Now, let's move this over to our next question. This is long discourse. This is a dynasty team, so we are going to save that for a dedicated dynasty stream. This will be Code Gaiopo says, I think I'm due for a quarterback upgrade, but I'm not sure which players to package in a potential upgrade. So first thing is, we are the number one team in this league, right? Points scored, we were fourth highest coming into this, but in terms of value, according to the site, we are number one. It's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, so the depth isn't going to matter too much. Quarterback, we have Daniel Jones as well as Bo Nix. So if we're sitting here with both these quarterbacks, we can play the matchups with them weekly. Realistically, looking at the best quarterback off waivers, it's like CJ Stroud. So obviously we're not that excited about it. Okay. Looking at what we have with running back. We have Judkins RB2 behind the anchor with Taylor RB1. Hendo in the long term looks like he's better with the Gibson injury. We have Swift as a depth piece, White, Woody, Marks. So we have plenty of running back depth. Wide receiver, we have Lamb, Rice as long-term options. We have Sutton, Keenan that we can play right now. So realistically, like Sutton becomes expendable once we get to week 7 when you have Rice and Lamb back in, but not so much as of today. So if you were making a trade today, that trade would hinge on us going through and us selling one of the running backs to get to the elite level QB. Us going through and sending DeAndre Swift and Daniel Jones to try to get to a quarterback that we like a hell of a lot more, like Jaden Daniels. But realistically speaking, again, I think you're probably going to run into the same issue that we had with the last team where we have this running back depth, but people aren't going to be excited to trade for Woody Marks. People aren't going to be willing to trade for DeAndre Swift. Nobody's trading for Trevion Henderson right now. So I think that similar to what we said with the last team, while I have Quinshon Judkins ranked extremely high, if we were to redraft teams today, I have Judkins going at the 2-3 turn. I think the piece that you could sell and get a ton of intrigue for would actually be Quinshon Judkins. So like if you wanted to try to, let's again, in your league, kind of look at the same thing here, right? What are the worst teams in this league at running back? This team has Etienne, Chase Brown as RB1 and RB2. I mean, we don't need to trade for a better wide receiver, and we have the third best wide receiver in this league. So an issue that you're running into here is the worst teams in the league at running back don't really have great quarterbacks. I guess this is the first team that we can say that they do have a strong quarterback. Like this Jaden Daniels team. I mean, if you could send them Trevion Henderson and Daniel Jones for Jaden Daniels, we would do it. The issue here is obviously we'd rather have Quinshon Judkins over Jaden Daniels in fantasy, so we wouldn't make that swap. But if you could sell one of the lesser running backs to get that upgrade to Daniels, that makes sense. This team lost Amari and Hampton, so their RB3 at the moment is Kenneth Gainwell. So if that's an issue for them, they have Drake May producing as well, and they have an injured Lamar Jackson. We can afford to wait for Lamar for the long term here. If you wanted to go ahead and try to send them the combination of like Trevion Henderson and Bo Nix for Lamar Jackson, I think that would be very interesting. This team is Jalen Hurts, but they hit on Michael Carter. They have plenty of running back depth. It's a 10-team league, right? So there are going to be many teams that are desperate for help at RB. So yeah, I really think that there are only like those two quarterbacks that we could go out there and try to trade for, like Lamar and Jaden Daniels. And again, depending on the guy that we're looking at, you could possibly consider sending like the really strong running back option like Quinshon Judkins. Obviously, we'd prefer to sell the lesser running back, but it's going to be much easier said than done sending Trevion Henderson, sending DeAndre Swift, as opposed to where obviously at this point, almost anybody would be excited to trade for Judkins if they needed an RB. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. And yeah, you should have free questions as well to send for or start set trade if you need anything. But we're going to skip past bouncy accountability real quick just because we got to pull up the screenshots on the other side. Sorry, on the other window. Actually, let me see if the devs, have they fixed this? No, they have not. Michael Pass is 1-4. Pretty sure my season is cooked. Time to throw a Hail Mary. Should I sell my players at a discount to get points now or go down with the ship? Definitely the former rather than the latter. If you have any trade suggestions, that would be appreciated. Congratulations to you and your fiance and have a great stream. Flock Country, let's fly. Really appreciate you as always, my guy. And Again, I know that you are always out here with us. Let me make sure that we get you set up where you never have to worry about if we have it as voucher only or whatever. You can always send in questions. But yeah, so you should have a bunch of free vouchers on your account, my guy. This is the second best team in this league, value-wise, but we're 1-4. So my assumption as we pull this up is we are going to have a considerable amount of pieces that give us long-term value, but not really much short-term production. So I think that's going to be very important to bucket off these types of players when we're looking at a team that's 1-4, right? The guys that we're excited to start right now versus the guys that we're excited about their long-term upside with. I think we can say with George Kittle, if he comes back this week, obviously we're excited right now, but we just don't have that type of clarity at this point. Now, if we get, we've had conflicting reports on Kittle as of late. If we get some news that Kittle's going to be back this week, then obviously I wouldn't look to do this. But you can come back from 1-4. 1-4 is not the end of the world. 1-6 kind of is the end of the world. So if you could pivot from George Kittle to a tight end, like if there's anybody that thinks that like Tyler Ward and George Kittle belong in the same tier at this point, if you could trade like Travis Hunter and George Kittle to try to get to Tyler Warren, obviously it'd be a no-brainer. If George Kittle, we get the report saying that he's for sure not going to play this week, and you wanted to pivot over and instead you would rather have Tucker Kraft, I'm not going to fault you for that one at all either. Now the quarterback position, we're just playing the matchups between Caleb and Fields. Completely fine there. Running back, we have Judkins, Henry, Henderson, JCM, Michael Carter, Dermicado, Brian Robinson. Your league mates are smart. There's not really anything on the waiver wire for us. So I can't come out here and say like, oh yeah, let's drop Dermicado, let's drop Brian Robinson. It's just other handcuff RBs. So if I was bucketing off these running backs in terms of long-term versus short-term pieces, like Trevion Henderson, again, I know that we keep on talking about this, but I would say like if we could possibly send Henderson, if we could send Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, like I like Henderson with the Antonio Gibson injury, but it's like I'm on an island with that. And if you could send him and get an upgrade anywhere, we would. Because like it doesn't matter if like Trevion Henderson takes over from Ramondre Stevenson 2 weeks from now. Or like realistically, even if Trevion Henderson takes over from Ramondre this week, you're not starting Trevion this week. So like the best case scenario is he does not start making an impact for us until week 7. And that is a best case scenario. So maybe you could go like Henderson and Kittle to try to get to Tyler Warren. Because realistically, like if I was a 5-0 team, if I was 4-1, which my team's either going to be 4-1 and 5-0, and I had Tyler Warren and I needed help with long-term upside at running back, there's a real shot I would trade Tyler Warren for George Kittle and Trevion Henderson. Wide receiver, you don't have any firepower to sell anything, right? It only comes down to the leverage that you have selling Trevion Henderson, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, George Kittle, the players that aren't auto locks in your starting lineup this week, to try to go out there and get somebody that is an auto lock either at running back or tight end. But yeah, and your league mates are too sharp where there aren't really any plays that we can look at as easy pickups off waivers. But again, I sent you over a ton of free questions. So if there's anything that you want to ask me, you always can, my guy. I wish I had more for you, but yeah, I think it just comes down to selling those long-term pieces rather than going down with the ship. I wish your league mates were worse, so we had decent options that we could go ahead and pick up off waivers. We're going to skip by GOAT DK real quick. We'll get those screenshots pulled up in a second. Okay. And let's move over to other thread. It says 2 and 3, any trades, ideas, or drops. This is SEAL Team Knicks. We are the 6th team in the league analyzer here. We just lost this week. Coming into this game, we are kind of in the middle of this league in points scored. It's a 10-team start 8 format, so the options on the waiver wire should be decent, but it's not like depth is completely irrelevant. Quarterback, we have the combination of Bo Nix as well as Kyler Murray. We're getting to the point where if you wanted to drop Kyler in favor of Jordan Love, I wouldn't fault you for it whatsoever. Obviously, I'm not going to say that's an easy call just because Kyler Murray still does give you some rushing upside, but it's not like Kyler Murray's been an exciting play whatsoever this year. I mean, you've had a total of 0 games where this dude scored 20 fantasy points. So, like, I actually have Jordan Love ranked ahead of Kyler in my rest of season ranks. Now, looking over at running back, we have Bijan Judkins. We're not to the point where we need to hit the full-blown panic button. We're not 1 and 4, so we don't need to sell Trevion Henderson. We can hold on to the long-term upside of Henderson. We can hope that Kenneth Walker ends up getting traded. Looking at what we have with Rachaad White as a short-term fill-in, I mean, it's great running back room. Wide receiver, it's a league in which we can start up to 4 receivers. We have Nico, Sutton, Ladd, Godwin. So long-term, it's a great wide receiver room. Short-term, it's not like we have a ton of depth because obviously Godwin's not playable for now. And then tight end, we have Jawan Johnson. So it's a great team at running back. This is a great team at wide receiver. Realistically, the issue that you would have with this roster stems from specifically the onesie positions, quarterback as well as tight ends. And if we were looking at doing anything here, I think it would probably be us trying to sell a running back, sell a wide receiver to upgrade one of the onesies. I think if you were looking at waiver wire pivots, dropping Kyler for Jordan Love would be appealing. Looking at running back, dropping Zach Charbonnet for Michael Carter. Wide receiver, I know Jalen Coker coming off the IR. Jalen Coker, like, just drop him. He's not worth the roster spot, to be honest, in a shallow format like yours. I would rather have a bunch of these players that you already have on your bench. Like, he's not going to be worth holding a bench spot on. So, like, I would rather have Travis Hunter, Calvin Ridley, Alec Manor over Jalen Coker. And then tight ends, based off the tight ends in New Orleans coming back, such as Taysom Hill as an example, I think that I would go ahead. I would cut Jawan Johnson for David Njoku. We saw David Njoku take a massive step forward and actually play more snaps than he had all year, while at the same time run more routes, draw more target. Like, David Njoku had his best game of the season. And a lot of that was based on the fact that you were actually able to see them run just a ton of 2 tight end sets with no Cedric Tillman, which I think will be the case going into the future. So I would drop Jawan Johnson, pick up David Njoku, drop Kyler Murray, pick up Jordan Love. Once Henderson breaks out and or Chris Godwin breaks out, then at that point, I think you would have the expendable depth at either running back or wide receiver to trade for a top end quarterback or trade for a top end tight end. But it's a little bit too early to do so right now. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. I'm going to go ahead and send you over some free questions just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with this team. Okay. Now let's move over to our next question. This is C. Wheeland. This is about to drop 2 weeks straight. Neighbors and Benson put me in a bind. Moves I've made. Kamara for London week 2. Great trade. Mason Scat Golden for Lamb. Incredible. There's no way. Yeah, we are at the top of the league analyzer. We're the second best team, but we're still 3-2, right? Coming into this week, we are kind of a lucky 3-2. Unless I'm actually, no, we were an unlucky 3-2. We are the number 1 team in the league in points scored. Now, it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So realistically, the skill positional depth is not going to matter a ton. You can only start 2 receivers in a flex. So looking at quarterback, we are completely fine with us rostering Drake May and Brock Purdy, right? And we can just play the matchups with these guys weekly. Realistically, you're probably playing Drake May every week until we see otherwise. But we're completely fine at quarterback with this. You don't need Allen. You don't need a true elite player. Okay. Now, moving over to our next option. We have James Cook, Chase Brown at RB. So Chase Brown gives you a baseline floor where obviously are we super excited to ever put him in our starting lineup? Hell to the no. But it's doable. Where you can put him in your lineup during a bye with an injury, and he's going to get you double-digit fantasy points. The ceiling's severely capped, but at least you're going to get something. And then obviously we have the long-term upside with some of these rookies here. We can still stream the position, pick up guys like Rico Dowdle that could turn into league winners. So overall, really like where we stand at running back with the anchor and then enough to get by beyond that. Then wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Lamb, London. We have 3 hammers. It's a league in which you start 2 receivers in a flex. You don't need much more than that. Obviously, when we traded for CeeDee Lamb, the expectations are, hey, this is going to be a deal that we're really excited about the long term with, but it's going to hurt us in the short term. So it shouldn't be that big of a surprise that our team starts struggling and then all of a sudden we're not the absolute best at the moment. So wide receiver is going to be amazing once CeeDee Lamb comes back, and we have the elite tight end with Tyler Warren. So with your league settings specifically, I love this team. Don't get me wrong. There are a few one-off moves that we want to make. I would drop Isaiah Bond for Alec Manor. I know he did nothing this past week, but previous to that, he had showed that he could be the wide receiver 1 here. Isaiah Bond ultimately, I don't see what the ceiling is. It's a garbage offense, and he's not a good player. And they're running a bunch of 2 tight end sets. Like the tight ends don't get the same usage in Tennessee that they do in Cleveland. I would also consider dropping Darius Slayton for Josh Downs based off matchups. I'm sorry, not based off matchups, based off Darius Slayton's injury. I think you could go for either Josh Downs or you could go for Darnell Mooney, depending on injury updates. So drop Slayton, drop Bond, pick up 2 or 3 of these wide receivers. I'm sorry, 2 of 3. Then outside of that, I'm leaving this as is. I wish I had more for you beyond this point, but I think it's a really strong team. I think the construction is pretty much exactly what I'd want to see. And for that reason, we're just rolling with this as is. I'm going to send you over some free questions, though, just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with. I'd be super happy to help you out in any way that I can, my guy. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at some of the quick questions here. These are going to be the start sit. These are going to be the trades. Hopefully don't really have any start sits because, again, I don't have too many options. I mean, I don't even know the matchups. Okay, now this first trade is going to be coming from Swervo. Says, I have Gibbs, Dobbins, JCM, Swift left over as my RBs. HN to Lamb downgrade, Tet to Rice upgrade. I don't like your running back. I mean, if you are 4-1, if you're 3-2, or I mean, if you're 4-1, 5-0, easily give me the Lamb and Rice side. But if you're like a 2-3 team where this deal probably loses you your league this week, I mean, your matchup this week, you probably can't do it. I do accidentally. We skipped far ahead on that list. We need to go back to this one. This is McClan trading Montgomery, Judkins, JSN for Pollard, Bijan, and Rome. Judkins to Rome, lateral move up to you. JSN to Bijan, massive upgrade. Montgomery to Pollard, downgrade. Bijan's at a different tier than anybody else in this deal. We'll go and get Bijan Robinson. Now, Gianni with our next one, trading Hubbard and Brian Thomas for Egbuka, Dobbins, and a future first. I would rather have Egbuka over Brian Thomas and Chuba Hubbard, even if it didn't include the rookie pick with it. So Egbuka here and not close. Bitter Hornet trading Byshell, Tootin, Dowdle, Jalen Coker, and T. Higgins for Breece Hall. I'm going to take Breece Hall here. I don't think this one's close either, considering the fact that Breece Hall is turning into a 3-down workhorse without Braylon Allen. Okay. Now, Ortiz coming through, trading Carter, Worthy, Marr for Garrett Wilson. Leftover at running back, we'd have Bucky, White, Genty, Henderson, Harvey. It's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So because it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, we'll have enough at running back. I think you can go for this. But if it was a deeper league, then obviously it'd be much tougher. Now, Petey Buckets trading Walker and St. Brown for Barkley and Deebo Samuel. St. Brown to Barkley downgrade, Walker to Deebo upgrade. I think this is a fair deal, and it's going to come down to your personal preference. Bitter Hornet trading Scat, Jamo Pearsall for Drake London. Leftover running back, we'd have Bijan, Chase Brown, Dowdle, Woody Marks. Wide receiver, we'd have London, Tet, Rice. It's a 2 receiver, 1 flex league. I would do this because, I mean, right now, Jamo and Ricky Pearsall, these guys aren't startable. So if they're not startable, then sure. Okay. Now, Luis Del Piero trading Pearsall, Hunter Henry for RGRV, Trevion Henderson. I would rather have Trevion Henderson over Pearsall. I'd rather have Harvey over Hunter Henry. So obviously these running backs aren't doing anything right now, but if you are a winning team and you can think long-term, I'm fine with it. But they got to start doing something eventually. Okay. Now, Z Hoover says, any trades I can make? I can't see your team, my friend. I think you're trying to send in a team review. I will send you over a free trade question. So if you have anything in here that you want me to, if you have any trade that comes to mind that you want me to look at, I'd be super happy to check it out for you. Now, Sadie trading Fields, Judkins, Ladd for Charbon, Amon-Ra St. Brown. It is a super flex format. If this was a 1 QB league, I would take the Amon-Ra St. Brown side. But with this being a super flex league, here I think I'm actually going to have to go with Fields. But it looks like we just hit 1,000 likes on the stream. So let's go ahead and let's do another giveaway for free questions. Again, y'all can tell the vast majority of all the questions that we answer in these live streams are the free ones. If you wanted to qualify to win free questions in these streams, all you got to do is drop a like on the live stream and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chats. And of course, if you wanted to just get guaranteed free questions for these streams, you'd always do so by taking advantage of the offer on Underdog Fantasy, where if you go over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get the best offer that they have had in the 5 years I've been working with them. And that's you play $5 and you get $100 added into your account. And on top of that, you'll get a free Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for the game tonight. You can find that link in the description as well as the live chat. It's the number one way that you could support this channel. And also it is available in almost every single state. Now, let's go ahead and let's send out a free question to Cobra Kaiono. Did anybody here watch Cobra Kai? Whenever we visited California, We saw like a bunch of posters for it everywhere, but I don't know if I've ever met anybody who's watched it. Cobra Kayano, I cannot find you. I don't know if you use code FLOCK when you set up your account. I can only find the accounts that use code FLOCK. Let's send this over to Trustworthy Soup. You can add code FLOCK to your account page if you haven't used the code already. Trustworthy Soup just found you and just sent you over a free trade question. Really appreciate you hanging out with us in this stream as always, my guy. And let's send this other one over to Focused Premier. Focus Premier just found you and just sent you over a free trade question. Again, really appreciate you hanging out with us in this stream. Okay, let's move this to our next one. This is Joan Vita trading Chubb, Pickens, Ferg for Nico Collins. It's a 2-receiver, 1-flex format. We have Trey McBride. So with your league settings specifically and with your team specifically having Trey McBride, I think that you can make this deal. However, I would say for the vast majority of people watching this, they probably can't. But also you're going to get CeeDee Lamb coming back in soon, which will negatively impact both the combination of George Pickens as well as Jake Ferguson. And Ferguson has an undisclosed injury at this point. Now, Ozzy Mondiaz trading Allen, down tiering to Daniels, and trading Metcalf for Rashee Rice. This is very interesting because I have Josh Allen and DK Metcalf on my own fantasy football team. So, like, if this trade came across my table, would I do it? I think, honestly, I probably would. I probably would send Josh Allen and DK Metcalf for Daniels and Rashee Rice. I have a winning record, though, so maybe if you are, like, a team that's currently 1-4, 2-3, you don't do this. But if you have a winning record, I think you can go for it. Okay. Now, Beggs with our next one, trading Carter and Kenneth Walker for Amari and Hampton. Leftover at running back, we'd have Jonathan Taylor as our RB2. I don't think you can do this, to be honest. If you're 5-0, then sure. Here's the thing with Amari and Hampton. We talked about this, obviously, in depth at the beginning of the stream. Realistically speaking, if Amari and Hampton was guaranteed to only miss 4 games, then I think you could go ahead and I think you could say, like, yeah, let's take Hampton. But there's a chance it's beyond that. So I don't know. If you're 5-0, then sure, go for it. But like, there's no guarantee that Hampton's only missing 4 games. Tony Tiger says, I need an RB2. I'm 3-2. What can we do? It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So you could say like Zay Flowers and Ladd McConkey are expendable if you wanted to sell a wide receiver to go get that running back. But it's not like you need to panic. You do have some depth here. Now, King Artie trading Achane and Mike Evans for Swift and JSN. Achane to JSN, slight downgrade. Evans to Swift, slight upgrade. Honestly, this is just a trade. It's up to you. If I had a losing record, I'd probably go JSN and Swift because you're not having any injured players on that side of the deal, as well as Swift's already through his bye week, so you're going to get an extra game. But if you had a winning record, I'm probably going to opt to go ahead and take I don't know. If you had a winning record, I'm probably going to go ahead and take the side of Achane and Evans. I think Achane and Evans wins that in the long term. Now, Koopa Dan trading Hindo for Amari and Hampton. I'd rather have Henderson. But Olave and Godwin for Drake London. It's a 14-team league. Afterwards, you'd be starting A-Chain and Swift, then St. Brown, Waddle, London. So I would say most leagues, yes, I want to go and take the Amari and Hampton and Drake London side of this. However, a 14-team format where depth and starters are going to be tougher to come by, it is not going to be as easy. So you can go for this. But it is going to make your life very difficult over the next 5 weeks. Now, Poker Pro says running back H.N. Henderson, Benson, Stevenson. Wide receiver Lamb, Wilson, Olave, Ladd, McLaurin, Diggs, Tucker. It's a 12-team start 8 half PPR format if the league settings are filled out correctly. So effectively, we don't really have a running back 2 that we're excited to start, whereas at wide receiver, we have plenty of names. If these league settings are correct, with your team, if this is a half PPR format with 2 flex spots, I think you can go ahead and take Bucky and DeAndre Swift. But if this was a full PPR league, then obviously it makes it a little bit tougher. Okay. Now, Tony Verse trading Hampton for Kamara. I'd rather have Kamara at this point. I mean, there's a chance that Kamara gets shipped over to either KC or Los Angeles. Now, Tony Tiger with our next one. It's trading Pearsall for Michael Carter. I have them ranked at 71 and 74. Looking at your team where we lost the Amari and Hampton, I think that's a very reasonable deal to go and get Carter. Connor trading Franklin and Kincaid for Godwin and Likely. Likely's a 0. Kincaid versus Godwin. I'd probably rather have Godwin. Super deep league. And we have Tyler Warren at tight end. So I think you can go ahead and you can do this. Is it super easy? No, but I think Chris Godwin's going to get better as time goes on. I don't know if Igbuka is going to be the only player that is ever relevant at wide receiver for the Bucs. Okay. Now, Skitty with our next one says, I'm 4-1. Some injuries. Is this worth it? We are trading Tyler Ward and Pacheco for Etienne and Kittle. So it kind of comes down to, actually, I think that this would be worth it. A 4-1 team where we can kind of eat the George Kittle injury. Running back, we have CMC. Kenneth Walker doesn't look exciting at this point. You really don't have running back depth. So, yeah, honestly, I think you can go and get Kittle and Etienne on a 4-1 team. Now, Damian says, Mason, I'm down by 25. Should we flex Pacheco, Travis Hunter, Juju, or Dimey Brown, or give up? I'm sorry, my guy. You're over. It's over for you. Can I look at what the projections are on Underdog? I know these are median projections, so we need to be thinking about the top 10% outcomes. Can y'all please spam the chat? If you were down by 25, who would you throw in your flex between Juju, Travis Hunter, Juju, or Dimey Brown? Again, these are going to be median projections, so I don't know how useful they would be to look at. Travis Hunter is higher, lower, 31.5 receiving yards. I would say Hunter has probably a larger standard deviation from his median. Juju's higher, lower, 29.5. Pacheco's higher, lower, 6.65 fantasy points. I'm assuming that this is a PPR format as well. So here's the thing. If we have Travis Hunter with the largest or the highest median projection out of these guys, and I would assume that the range of outcomes on Travis Hunter is the widest as well. Where if you just needed 3 points, I probably wouldn't tell you to play Travis Hunter. I'd probably put Juju in. But if you needed 25, we'd go Travis Hunter, but I don't know if it's going to matter much because I don't think anybody's getting there for you. Okay. Now, Cliff35 says, I'm 4-1, and we also have McBride. Oh, hell yes, you go and get Puka Nacua here. It's not even really close. Yeah, again, Puka and CMC are the two options that you can just frankly go through and you can almost make any trade for them, and it's going to be a good deal. Okay. Let's move this over to our next one. This is from Nate. Says, just got Hampton placed on the IR. Running backs are Kyron, Mason, Brees. Other wide receivers. Here's the thing, man. If you have Brees and Kyron, with the Braylon Allen injury, Brees turns into an every week starter. So realistically speaking, like if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex or a double flex format, like any player that you're going after, the position of them, it doesn't really matter. And really the thing is it's going to come down to is just what's their points per game for the flex. So you have both Kyron and Brees Hall. Instead of like panic trading for another running back here, I think you may be better just going ahead and looking at options that you could get for like, I would just hold on as is and make waiver wire moves and see if you can hit on a running back depth piece there. Like anything you're doing for James Cook here at this point, it's going to be, you're selling depth in the flexes to get an improvement at the flex, which I think it's like the worst time to be doing that after you just lost the current guy that was there for you. Now, let's go ahead and move over to our next question. This is going to be from Metalhead. It says, down 3 versus Thomas, Strange, Hunter, Juju, or Thornton. Down 3 versus Thomas. Brian Thomas, okay. Britton, Strange, Travis Hunter, Juju, or Tyquan Thornton. Almost no matter what, you're going to lose here. Can I go back and look at the projections real quick on Underdog? I'm sorry, but like, I know maybe y'all disagree with this, but it's legit what I would do in this scenario with my own team. Like if I would have listened to these projections and I would have freaking just played Tony Pollard instead of Juju Smith-Schuster, I'd be 5-0. I'd be the happiest man on the planet right now. So Brian Thomas currently higher, lower, 55.5 receiving yards for the game tonight. Strange has been getting 7 targets a game. He's currently higher, lower, 7.45 fantasy points. I think Strange is probably going to be the best projection here. Travis Hunter's higher, lower, 6.65. I just don't want Juju or Tyquan with Worthy back. Juju's higher, lower, 29.5 receiving yards. And Tyquan Thornton's higher, lower, 12.5. Again, I think this is one of those instances where you should just be going for like the median projection here. So I would probably go with Brenton Strange or Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think your hope is, like, if you're down 3 versus Brian Thomas, you're losing most likely. I think I would go Strange and hope that he's the guy that catches the touchdown from Lawrence. Like, that would be my appeal. Now, Rip Neb trading a second and CJ Stroud in a Superflex league for Caleb. I'd rather have Caleb here, not close. Quick, fast, and a hurry. He says 4-0, trying to shore up the spot, need help at wide receiver. Malik Neighbors to Brian Thomas, clear downgrade in Dynasty. We're trading a second for Chase Brown. If you're a true contender, how down bad do you really need Brian Thomas? Like, we have right now in our starting lineup, yeah, you need a receiver no matter what. I would assume that you could get a better price tag selling Malik Neighbors to a rebuilding team. With that in mind, clearly this team should contend with our record, while at the same time, we need help at wide receiver. So if this is the best you're going to get, this is the best you're going to get. But what I would at least ask for at the minimum is if we could keep our second rounder. At the very minimum. Now, Don BMC trading Walker Pickens for Drake London. Leftover at running back, we'd have Javonte Scat, Woody Marks, and RJ Harvey. So value-wise, I want the Drake London side. I just don't necessarily know if you're going to be able to get by at running back. If you feel comfortable with your running back depth, sure, take Drake London. Especially he's already gone through his bye, so you're going to get the extra game played. But I just don't know how comfortable we feel with your running back room in particular. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's move back over and let's get to some more team reviews if we don't have any quick questions. Actually, we do have a couple more. Steve says 1 and 3. We have Jefferson, Saquon, Daniel Jones, Laporta, and Woody left. Javonte to London, slight upgrade. Brian Thomas to Walker, slight downgrade. Matthew Golden to Tet, massive upgrade. I think you can go ahead and make this move. Now, Excitable Grass trading Gibbs Benson versus Daniels Montgomery Nico. Okay, so quarterback, we have Dak, who's just fine at the moment. How much do we don't need wide receiver help. So to be honest with you, I'd rather keep the best player in this deal. I'd keep Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, I think the value side's on the Nico and Jaden Daniels end of it, but I don't think you need to be doing that. Yeah, Young Pete trading Lamar for JSN. Yeah, in a one quarterback format, give me JSN. Not close. Superflex league. Then obviously I'd take Lamar, but 1 QB, give me JSN. But let's move over and check out some of the team reviews. And I want to remind y'all, of course, if y'all wanted to check out any of those picks for the game tonight on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link to Underdog in the description as well as the live chats. I've been with Underdog for 5 years. They've been the only sponsor of this channel, and this is by far and away the best offer that they have ever done. They are offering a $100 bonus after you play your first $5 with code FLOCK. And on top of that, you'll get a free Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for tonight's game. And you'll get free questions that you can ask in the live streams. And I'm streaming every single day until Christmas, answering fantasy football questions. Now, let me go ahead and pull up some of the teams that we just have the screenshots of, because I know we skipped over those previously, but obviously we can circle back to them. I think the first one that we want to check is Johnny Glocks. Says, should I just ride with my team or should I go after someone aggressively? Purdy, Tua, Henry. Okay, well, we can just go ahead and we can just look at your team. So let's check this out. You said we had a 2-2 record coming into this matchup. Looking at our quarterback position, Tua actually played well, but obviously not super excited about him in the long term. And nobody else in this lineup, I guess Rachaad White, Puka Nacua were great, but Jacoby disappointed, McBride disappointed, Marv was mid. And then we had to go up against Javonte and Amon-Ra St. Brown, so we probably ended up losing this game, I'd imagine. But so we were probably 2-3, but regardless of if we are 3-2, 2-3, you still kind of need to be looking at what we can do here in the short term, right? It's not like we are a 4-1 team where we need to be just thinking fantasy playoffs, or a 5-0 team where we're thinking fantasy playoffs. Looking at the starting lineup requirements, it's a league in which you start 2 receivers in a flex. So if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, realistically, you don't need to build too much around wide receiver depth. I like having an elite quarterback. I like having an elite tight end. We have McBride down there on our bench. We are also rostering Taysom Hill. If you have McBride, I wouldn't roster a second tight end. I would just go ahead. I would cut Taysom. And to be honest with you as well, I think you're going to have to cut Jalen Coker. In a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I'd imagine that you're going to get a better option than Jalen Coker off of the waiver wire. Now, looking at options off the waiver wire right now, they're sorted by projection. So it should be very easy for you to actually link your team with flockfantasy.com. My guy, you play in an ESPN league. Just go to your My Teams page, open up 2 windows, sign into flockfantasy.com on one of them, sign into ESPN on the other, add the extension, and then open the extension, hit sync. It will pull your ESPN league into flockfantasy.com. I would recommend doing this on desktop and a browser other than Safari. But you should see some better options on the waiver wire for us to pick up. It's hard for me to tell you who to pick up off waivers just because if you're looking at projections, like the projected points that ESPN are going to tell you, it's not the way to be looking at the waiver wire pivots. But I would assume that there's somebody ranked higher than Jalen Coker on the waiver wire here. Looking at what we have when it comes to running back, we're sitting with Derrick Henry, Rachaad White. Obviously, Rachaad White, short-term fill-in, but we, realistically speaking, don't have an RB2. So, like, if we can fill in week to week off the waiver wire options, cool. Like, having Rachaad White's clearly going to save us some of these spots. But it's not like you're going to be able to get Rachaad White every single week, right? Bucky Irving's eventually going to come back. So you need to find your next Rachaad White. So I would want to roster as many running backs as we possibly can on the waiver wire. That's why I'm cutting Taysom Hill. I'd be cutting the backup DST to just try to make sure that we can roster as many RBs as possible. Going over to receiver, we have Puka, who obviously is the reason why we're winning games up until this point. We have Jacoby Myers. We have Marvin Harrison. And then down on the bench, we have Rashee Rice coming back in the long term. So wide receivers are one strong suit. And again, once you eventually get Rashee Rice in here, I don't see a world in which you're ever going through and playing Jalen Coker. So that's another guy I'd be fine cutting for RB help. And then we have the elite tight end with Trey McBride. So here's the thing. I would like to trade for an elite quarterback in your format, but you don't have enough value to trade for an elite quarterback in your format. So what I would actually do instead is I would go ahead. I would just optimize the bottom end of your bench with as many running backs as you possibly can. That way we can hit on the next Rachaad White, the next Rico Dowdle, hopefully figure out running back in the long run. And I don't think there are any trades that make sense on your team. You really have to hope, obviously, that Derrick Henry starts producing. But link your team with the site, and it'll give you a much better idea of who to pick up off waivers. I really honestly can't even see who to pick up off the waiver wire with just like the screenshots of your projections, because obviously that's not a good way to go about it. Because the running backs that you would be interested in, like the handcuff guys, like just say Blake Corum as an example, not going to project out well ever. So we just sent you over some free questions. So if there's anything else that you want to follow up with, I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you, my friend. But it looks like we just hit 1,100 likes in the stream. So let's go ahead and let's send out some more free questions in the chat. Again, to get those free questions, all you got to do is drop a like on the live stream and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chats. And then we'll go ahead and pick somebody to send out those free questions to. And I will say as well, if you wanted to get those guaranteed free questions, you always can by taking advantage of the offer on Underdog Fantasy, where if you go over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get $100 added to your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, you're going to be getting a free Trevor Lawrence gimme pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for tonight's game, and free questions in the live streams that we're doing. We're streaming every single day until Christmas, answering these questions. You can tell the majority of the questions that we answer in the streams are the free questions for people winning them in the chat, and then also for people using the Underdog promo. And this is the best Underdog promo that they've done in the 5 years that I've been with them, which is why I've been so annoying promoting it, because I really do think you should take advantage. Now let's go ahead and let's send out some free questions. Let's send this one to Brox. Let me see if I can find you on the site, my friend. Appreciate you hanging out with us here in this live stream. I'm gonna have to refresh this. Brox, just found you, just sent you over a free trade question. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us in the stream. Let's move this over one to Pumbo. Pumbo, appreciate you hanging out with us. And I cannot find you on the site. I don't know if you used code FLOCK when you signed up. If not, you can add it to your account page. And that way, next time, if you want a question, I can find you. Phil, let's go ahead and send this out to you. Appreciate you always hanging out with us in the streams, my guy. And just sent you over that free trade question voucher in case you have anything you want me to look at this week. Okay. Now, we are going to check this team out for bouncy accountability. Says, we scored 150 this week. Should I be worried about A.J. Brown? My team is capable of not coming last? 150 points obviously is a ton, right? So we should be in a good spot, depending on the league settings. Let's see what the league settings are here. Is this a Yahoo league? If this is Yahoo, you should be able to link this with the site super easily. Just go to the My Teams page. And on the My Teams page, just click Yahoo. It's going to take you to Yahoo. You sign in. Yahoo will send us your leagues. It takes you back to flockfantasy.com, and then they're always updated for you. You don't have to do it ever again. So yeah, definitely sign up to link your league. That way you can see stuff like the waiver wire and just a lot more information with the actual strength of your roster. Okay. But here, quarterback, we have Jared Goff. Quarterback's going to make up a really high percentage of your starting lineup output weekly because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, right? We lost Burrow. We have Daniel Jones as well. So we do have 2 solid quarterbacks that we can play the matchups with weekly. And then Burrow on the IR, so not taking up a roster spot for us. Going over to what we have at wide receiver. We have JSN, Jacoby Myers. Down in the flex, we have A.J. Brown. So I moved A.J. Brown down our rankings to now he's a low-end wide receiver 2. Obviously, he's going to give you some big spikes. He's going to give you some disappointing performances. We've seen more disappointing performances than spikes up until this point. Looking at the depth, we have DJ Moore, so we don't have a ton of depth at wide receiver, but I mean, we're still okay here. Now, looking over to see what we have at running back, we have Chase Brown, Bijan Robinson, RB1, RB2. So, obviously, we can say that Bijan, super exciting running back 1. Chase Brown, he's going to get you opportunities. Like, he's been bad, but like, he's getting you double-digit points every week, and then we just want to go through and we want to optimize the bottom end of the bench for as much upside as we can to try to find the next Rico Dowdle, right? Because when you hit on Rico Dowdle, then your team is just going to be an absolute hammer with JSN, Bijan, and then that waiver wire running back. Tight end, we have Mason Taylor. Bold call playing Mason Taylor over TJ Hawkinson this week. Super happy that you did it. I was not smart enough to do that myself in my rankings. I ranked TJ Hawkinson higher, but realistically, you're in a tough spot here where you're going to have to roster 2 tight ends. So I hate to say this. I have no idea what the hell you could do with your team. Like, I know that you're worried about A.J. Brown. Completely understand it. But the facts are you're not going to be able to yeah, I saw Hampton. They say has a good shot to come back after 4 games. Positive, but still not guaranteed. But like, you're not going to be able to flip A.J. Brown to anybody. You know, who's trading for A.J. Brown right now? You could say like, oh, maybe on a team like this, if we were lackluster at like the depth at running back or the depth at wide receiver, then maybe we should down tier from JSN or down tier from Bijan Robinson. But I don't think I would do that considering the fact that you're in a spot in which it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. So the depth is not going to matter too much. So I actually think you leave your team as is. I don't think that there's anything that you do. I'm going to send you over some free questions just in case you have anything that you want to follow up with here. But realistically speaking, I think you're just rolling with that team as is going into the future, my guy. I wish I had something for you. If it was like a league in which you started multiple flex spots, then maybe at that point we would do something, but not on yours. I think you leave that as is. Now let's check this out for Goat DK. Says, feeling pretty good about my team overall, considering trading for some depth at running back or upgrading at quarterback with the buys starting. Okay. So looking at what we have here, I'm going to have to pull this up. And I would say trading for depth is just going to be very difficult to do. I think it's almost easier just to go ahead and hit the waiver wire for him. Okay, so we were 4-0 coming into this game, right? So with us being 4-0 coming into this, like, it honestly doesn't even matter if we won, doesn't matter if we lost this week. You're in a spot in which we're still thinking long-term here. It's a 2 wide receiver, single flex format. So the depth's not going to matter much, to be honest with you. Quarterback, we have Caleb. And then down on the bench, we have Jackson Dart. I can't see your waiver wire here because this team's not linked. It should be very easy for you to link your team, to be honest. You're on Yahoo. Just go to the My Teams page. Link it by logging into Yahoo. They'll send us your fantasy football teams. Then it'll automatically be updated for you forever. But I would say that with the injury to Malik Neighbors, you probably have a better option than Jackson Dart off waivers, even with Dart running the ball. It's just going to be too bad of an offense. Now, looking at running back, we have James Cook, Josh Jacobs. So we have 2 hammers that we can start every single week. Going down to looking at what we have on the bench. Yeah, you have no depth. We have Caleb and Pacheco who are above zeros at this point. So like we do need to go through and we need to optimize to have additional running backs. So what I would look to do here is, again, I think I would look at the waiver wire first, because you have Josh Jacobs through his bye week at this point. So you have the week 7 bye week for James Cook coming up, but there's a chance you can find the next Rachaad White. There's a chance you can find the next Rico Dowdle. So what I would do instead is just looking at some of these names on your bench that don't have the upside of hitting your starting lineup. Like wide receiver, you have St. Brown, you have Pickens, you have Tet, you have 3 hammers you can start every week. Like Caleb's through his buys. Well, you could just straight up drop Jackson Dart for a running back. You could like 100% drop Marvin Mims for a running back. 100% drop the Giants DST for a running back. Like realistically, the only non-running back that I want to have on this bench, obviously Kittle on the IR, but you could have Jerry Jeudy and Keon Coleman at wide receiver. Tight end, currently we have Juwan Johnson in there. It doesn't look like a super exciting long-term play with the other tight ends coming back in New Orleans. But realistically speaking, since we have George Kittle in the long term, that's not going to stress us out too much. So I don't think you do anything at tight end. I don't think you make any trades. I love your starting lineup as is, but I agree. You just need to reconstruct your bench to optimize for running back upside to try to hit on the next Rico Dowdle. So I think you cut the Giants DST, you cut Marvin Mims, you cut Jackson Dart, you pick up 3 additional running backs off the waiver wire. And this is actually an ESPN league. So you should, I'm sorry, I thought it was Yahoo, but if it's ESPN, you should be able to link it easily with flockfantasy.com. Just do it on a desktop, do it on a browser other than Safari, and then just sign into ESPN on one window, sign into flockfantasy.com on the other, hit get extension, hit sync. It will pull your ESPN league into flockfantasy.com. And then at that point, you'll always be able to see the best waiver wire options. And you'll be able to see, you can sort it by best waiver wire options at running back. I think you just drop those 3 players, pick up your best waivers at RB. I'm not making any trades with this team. I agree. I think you have a good squad. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. But let's mark that as complete. And we are about 10 minutes away from kickoff. So what I got to do here is I got to grab me some food before the game starts. So I'm not absolutely starving. So I will say real quick, of course, if you wanted to take advantage of the offer on Underdog Fantasy, or if you go over and you sign up and use promo code FLOCK, one, it's the best way that you could support this channel. You will also get $100 added to your account after you play your first 5. We've had more people sign up to Underdog with code FLOCK this week than I have had working with them in 5 years. And I think it's because this is the best offer Underdog Fantasy's ever done. You'll get $100 added to your account after you play your first 5 with code FLOCK. And you'll get a free Trevor Lawrence pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for tonight's game. And on top of that, you'll get free questions for these live streams. And I'm streaming every single day until Christmas answering questions. Underdog Fantasy is available in almost every single state. You can find the link in the description as well as the link in the live chat where it just says free $100 bonus on Underdog. But I think that's all I got for y'all. I really appreciate you. I'm going to be live streaming after the game tonight, talking about what happens. Really hoping that I'm celebrating that I'm 5-0 on my own team, but obviously we're going to need a big Travis Etienne day for that to happen. We're going to need Travis Kelce to do absolutely nothing. But again, I really appreciate you. I really hope I can see you in the live stream after tonight. And yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button so YouTube tells you when we go live. And actually, while I have you here, one other thing that I need to be better about mentioning, because it looks like I wasted so much money ordering these hats if I can't even get them to enough people. But I know there are over 2,500 paid members of flockfantasy.com. I have those numbers. There have been like 1,100 people to fill out this free merch giveaway for them. I ordered 2,500 hats to send to y'all. So please, if you are a paid member of the site, go to the post section, fill out this Google this Google form. Let me know what hat you want. Let me know where to ship it. I want to be able to send these over to y'all, and I should be getting these hats in to my house this week. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time shipping those out to y'all. I'm going to ask the fiance to help me with it, and she will be pissed if they stay in our living room for the next year. So please take advantage of that. You can just, if you're a paid member of the site, go to the post section. But I really appreciate y'all, and I really hope we get to see you in the live stream after the game tonight.